Shiv Mahapurana. Introduction. In the beginning, sage Shonak expressed his eagerness to Sutta, desiring to understand the means that could aid individuals in the current age of Kali to attain Lord Shiva. This process involves cleansing the mind of impurities and rectifying inherent demonic tendencies. Sutta proceeded to narrate the essence of the Shiva Mahapurana, the supreme among all Puranas. This scripture was originally conveyed by Lord Shiva himself and later retold by sage Vyasa with the permission of Maharshi Sanatkumar, for the benefit of common people. Sutta explained, comprehending the mysteries of Shiv Mahapurana and singing its praises brings greater virtues than those acquired through charity or the performance of all yagyas. Reflecting upon the teachings of Shiva Mahapurana yields auspicious fruits, akin to a kalpataru, a mythological tree fulfilling all wishes. Shiva Mahapurana consists of 24,000 shlokas and is organized into 7 samhitas: Vidi Ishwar, Rudra, Shatrudra, Koti Rudra, Uma, Kailash, and Vaiviya. It stands as the most effective means for achieving liberation. Proper method of listening to Shiva Purana. Sage Shonak requested Sutta to tell about the proper method of listening to Shiva Purana so that mankind gets complete benefit. Sutta replied, first of all, an auspicious moment should be determined by an astrologer. After that, friends and relatives should be invited, especially those who have the tendency of being away from such occasions. The sages and virtuous people should be invited too. The katha must be held in sacred places like a Shiva temple, any place of pilgrimage, or in one's home after doing a Bhumi Pujan of the land where one intends to hold the katha of Shiva Purana. The canopy should be well decorated. After making a resolution and doing worship of Ganpati, the destroyer of all hurdles and obstacles, the katha should be commenced. The person who is telling the katha should be facing north, and all the listeners should sit facing east. The person who is telling the katha should be a scholar and should be capable of clearing all the doubts from the listener's mind. There should be no kind of distraction during the katha period. A devotee, who listens to the katha leaving behind all of his worldly worries, gets complete benefits. A devotee should also make donations and offerings according to his capacity and capability, otherwise, he would become a wretched man. The mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, should be chanted throughout the period of katha. An uninitiated person does not have the right to listen to the katha of Shiva Mahapurana. So a man desirous of listening to Shiva Mahapurana should first get initiated. A devotee who has taken the vow of listening to the katha of Shiva Mahapurana should follow a celibate life. He should sleep on the floor and should have only fruits in the diet. He can have his normal dinner only after the completion of the katha. The diet should be fresh and pure. He should also try to avoid sinful tendencies like lust, anger, greed, attachment, and condemning others, etc. Making donations of even meager things gives undiminishing virtues. After the methodical completion of the katha, a devotee should perform udyapan, conclusion of the katha, which is similar to the Chaturdashi udyapan. The devotee should also charitably make donations to all the Brahmins who have helped in the performance of katha. On the next day, the path of Shiva Gita should be performed. If the devotee, listener of the katha, is a householder, then he should perform havan with the ghee prepared from cow's milk, for the pacification of the unhindered completion of the katha. The havan should be performed, either with the help of Rudra Samhita mantras or Gayatri mantra or with the shlokas of Purana. Part 1 Vidishwar Samhita. Sages inquire. Vidi Ishwar Samhita, which is classified into 25 chapters, has a narration in its first chapter, which goes as follows: Once upon a time, the sages were performing a yagya at Prayakshetra. Sage Sutta came to know about this and arrived there. All the sages were very pleased to see him. They requested, Lord, though we have heard many tales from you regarding man's benediction, today we want to listen to something special. Because in this present era of Kali, when all the castes have forgotten about their respective duties, we want to know if there is any way to prevent the deterioration of human values. Sutta replied, O great men, your inquiry has great relevance in this era of Kali. I will certainly tell you about the way by the help of which a man can achieve benediction. Shiva Mahapurana contains the essence of Vedantic philosophy, which gives worldly pleasures as well as salvation. Mere remembrance of it destroys all the sins of a man. One who studies the Rudra Samhita attentively, his gravest sins are destroyed instantaneously. One who studies Rudra Samhita silently, sitting in front of the Bhairav idol, all of his aspirations are fulfilled. A man gets liberated from the sin of killing a Brahmin if he studies Rudra Samhita while circumambulating around a banyan tree. Kailash Samhita is even superior to Rudra Samhita, as it elaborates upon the meaning of Omkar. Shiva Mahapurana is created by Lord Shiva himself. It contains 12 Samhitas, which are Vidhi Ishwar, Rudra, Vinayak, Uma, Matri, Ekadash Rudra, Kailash, Shatrudra, Koti Rudra, Sahasra Koti, Vayaviya, and Dharma. Initially, it contained 1 lakh shlokas, but it was precise to 24,000 shlokas by sage Vyasa. The present Shiva Purana is the 4th one, which consists of 7 Samhitas. The earlier 3 Shiva Puranas are unavailable. The scientific analysis of the Vedantic mysteries are main subject of this divine Shiva Purana. The study of Shiva Purana helps a man to attain Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha. Sutta continued with his narration. During the initial period of Svetvarha Kalpa, 6 prominent sages collected near Triveni and started debating as to who was the greatest deity, among Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. Their debate remained inconclusive, so they went to Lord Brahma to seek the answer. Lord Brahma told them, "O revered sages, the source of Vishnu, Rudra, all the deities including myself and all the other creations is none other than Mahadev. Union with Shiva should be the objective of a man to attain that objective. Listening to the qualities of Lord Shiva, singing devotional songs in his praise and contemplating on him are the greatest means, which help to unite with Shiva. Purification of the mind by the help of doing worship and chanting the name of God is called contemplation. Singing devotional songs in the form of stotra, or hymns of the Vedas, or even in one's language is called kirtan. The above-mentioned 3 activities are the supreme means to attain liberation." Greatness of Shivalinga Pillar of Firemkar. According to Sutta, if a person is incapable of following the above-mentioned 3 activities, i.e., Shravan, Kirtan, and Manan, then he should worship the Shivalinga. Even by doing this, he can attain liberation from all the bondages of the world. Describing the majesty of Shivalinga, Sutta says, Lord Shiva is the manifestation of Almighty God, Brahma, himself, and for this very reason, he is known as Nishkal. Because of his divine beauty, Shiva is called Saguna, God with form. The term Saguna is also expressed in another way, that is Sakal. Shivalinga is worshipped since it symbolizes the form of Shiva. Lord Shiva is also considered to be Nirguna, without any qualities. In the first Kalpa of Svetvarha, a battle was fought between Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu to prove their superiority. Lord Shiva manifested before arrogance. After that, he also showed them his form in the shape of Shivalinga. From that day onwards, the Shivalinga became famous. Nandikshwarji narrates the tale of the battle between Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu. Once while traveling, Lord Brahma reached the abode of Lord Vishnu. He saw Lord Vishnu resting on Sheshnag and being attended by Garuda and other attendants. When Brahma saw that Vishnu did not get up to receive him, he became very angry. Very soon, verbal duel erupted between them. It became so severe that a battle was fought between them, which continued for a very long time. All the deities arrived from the heaven to watch the battle. They became very worried when they saw no sign of the battle coming to an end. They decided to go to Lord Shiva, to seek his help. Though Lord Shiva knew everything, but still feigning ignorance, he asked about the well-beings of the world. The deities told him about the battle, fought between Brahma and Vishnu. Lord Shiva then sent his 100 Ganas to pacify both of them. He too went there accompanied by Mother Parvati, boarded on a chariot. When Lord Shiva reached there, he saw that Brahma and Vishnu were about to use their deadly weapons, Maheshwar and Pashupat respectively. Fearing the destruction, which these deadly weapons might have caused, Lord Shiva manifested himself in the form of Analstamba, pillar of fire, between them. Brahma and Vishnu had already released their weapons, Maheshwar and Pashupat. Both the weapons fell into the pillar of fire and got destroyed. Brahma and Vishnu were very surprised to see the pillar of fire, which was so enormous in size that it reached the sky and penetrated down the earth. Vishnu transformed himself into a boar and went to the Patal, nether world, to find the base of that pillar of fire. But he was unsuccessful in his attempt and came back. Similarly, Brahma transformed himself into a swan and flew up in the sky to find its limit. While going through the aerial route he met a withered Ketaki flowers, which had still some freshness and fragrance left in it. Lord Shiva smiled at the futile attempts of Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu. As a result of his smile, the Ketaki flower fell down from the branch. Ketaki flower told Brahma that he had been present there since the beginning of the creation but was unable to know about the origin of that pillar of fire. The flower also advised Brahma against making any effort in that direction, as it would be of no use. Brahma then sought the help of Ketaki flower to give a false witness before Lord Vishnu, that he, Brahma, had been successful in seeing the limit of that pillar of fire. Ketaki flower agreed. Both of them went to Vishnu, and Brahma told him that he had seen the limit of that pillar of fire. Ketaki flower gave a witness. Vishnu accepted the superiority of Brahma. Lord Shiva became very angry with Brahma. He proceeded to punish Brahma for his falsehood. Lord Vishnu requested Lord Shiva to spare the life of Brahma. Lord Shiva became pleased with Vishnu and accorded him the same status as that of his own. Nandikeshwar, continuing with the tale, said, after according the same status to Vishnu as that of his own, Lord Shiva opened his third eye, from which manifested Bhairav. He ordered Bhairav to kill Brahma. Bhairav severed the fifth head of Lord Brahma with his sword. Brahma became very terrified. He was trembling in fear. Lord Vishnu felt pity on his condition and requested Lord Shiva to forgive him. Lord Shiva then stopped Bhairav but told Brahma, "You spoke untruth with a desire to become worshipable. It is my curse that you will not be worshipped by anybody. You will possess only 4 heads." Brahma begged for his forgiveness. Lord Shiva, feeling pity on Brahma, gave him a boon of being the presiding deity of all the yajna. Similarly, the Ketaki flower was also prohibited from being used during worship. But when Ketaki flower tendered his apology, Shiva gave a blessing that it would be fortunate to be offered to Lord Vishnu during worship. Lord Vishnu and Brahma made salutations to Lord Shiva and offered him a seat. They then worshipped him. This was the first time Brahma and Vishnu had worshipped Lord Shiva. Shiva was very pleased. Shivaratri has been continued to be celebrated since that day. This particular day is considered to be the most auspicious day for the worship of Lord Shiva. A devotee who fasts on Shivaratri, remaining only on fruits, attains virtues equivalent to the worship done for the whole year. The idol of Shiva is consecrated on this day. Lord Shiva himself has told the deities that he had manifested in the form of pillar of fire in the month of Agahan and during the constellation of Ardra. He also said, "One who has my darshan on this day, Shivaratri, or worships me in my form of linga is dearer to me than Kartikeya. The place where I manifested in the form of pillar of fire will become famous as Lingasdan. Because of its resemblance with the mountain of fire, it will also be known as Arunachal." Later on, Shiva brought back to life all the people who had died in the battle fought between Brahma and Vishnu. Lord Shiva then preached Brahma and Vishnu on the 5 duties, Panchakritya, saying that Shrishti, creation, Sthiti, position, Samhar, annihilation, Tirabhav, concealment, and Anugraha, obligation or kindness, are the 5 duties by which this world functions. The source of this world is Sarga or nature. The establishment of this world is Sthiti or position. The tendency of this world to destroy is Samhar or destruction. The feeling of absence of this world is Tirabhav or concealment, and Moksha or salvation is an obligation or Anugraha. Lord Shiva then goes on to explain that the first 4 duties like Sarga, nature, etc., help in the nurturance of the world, and the 5th duty, Anugraha, is a giver of salvation. Lord Shiva also told them, Brahma and Vishnu, that he, Shiva, had blessed both of them to look after the 2 duties, i.e., Shrishti and Sthiti. Rudra and Mahesh have been entrusted with the job of Sanhar and Tirabhav. The 5th duty, Anugraha, has been kept by me, said Shiva. After describing the allocation of various duties, Lord Shiva described the meaning of Omkar to them. He said that Omkar signified the world and contained the power of Shiva and Shakti. This powerful mantra gives all kinds of worldly accomplishments as well as salvation. After that, Lord Shiva initiated Brahma and Vishnu with the Omkar mantra and preached them on the importance of the worship of Shivalinga. Rituals of the worship of Shiva, sacred pilgrimages. On the request of the sages, Sutta describes the methods of worshipping Shivalinga. He says, one should construct a Shivalinga either of mud, rock, or metal and establish it in such a place where it can be worshipped daily without any hindrance. The char, mobile, linga should be small in size, and the sthira, fixed, linga should be large. The linga should be constructed along with the pedestal. The rule for constructing a Shivalinga has been specifically described. The breadth of thickness of the linga should be 12 times the thickness of the devotees, one who is constructing the linga, finger, while the length should be 25 times. After establishing the linga in the above-mentioned way, it should be worshipped after performing the Shodasopakar. The thumb also symbolizes a Shivalinga and its worship can be done. While worshipping the Shivalinga, the mantra Om Namah Shivaya should be continuously chanted. Chanting this mantra for 5 crore times helps a man in attaining to the abode of Shiva. Worship of Shiva done during midnight is considered to be especially fructifying. There are numerous places of pilgrimages connected with Shiva at the banks of the river Ganges and river industry. River Sarasvati is considered to be a sacrosanct river, and having an opportunity of living at its banks helps in attaining to the abode of Brahma. Similarly, there are famous temples of Lord Shiva at Kashi, Naimisharanya, Bhadrakesharama, and Kedar, etc. There are many temples of Shiva at the banks of the holy rivers like Ganges, Yamuna, Sarasvati, Godavari, Nirmada, Kaveri, Sarayu, Tungabhadra, etc. Worshipping Shiva at these places bestows undiminishing virtues and liberates a man from all of his sins. Conduct of the respective castes. Dharma. On the request of the sages, Sutta described the virtuous and invirtuous activities of a man according to the respective castes he belongs to. He said, a Brahmin who performs the rituals, as described in the Vedas, only is entitled to be called a Dvija. A Brahmin who is not that proficient in the Vedas is called a Kshatriya Brahmin. A Brahmin engaged in agricultural activities and business is called a Vaishya Brahmin. A Brahmin who is in the habit of condemning and criticizing others is called a Shudra Brahmin. A Kshatriya who looks after the welfare of his subjects is called a king, while the rest of them are known as simply Kshatriya. A Kshatriya who indulges in business is called a Vaishya Kshatriya. Similarly, a Kshatriya who engages himself in the service of the 3 superior castes, Brahmin, Kshatriya, and Vaishya is called a Shudra Kshatriya. Dharma is considered to be of 2 types, 1. Dharma performed by matter and materials. 2. Dharma performed by indulging in physical activities. The performance of yajna, etc., comes in the first category. Making pilgrimages to holy places comes in the second category. During the Satya Yuga, meditation was the way to attain self-knowledge. During Treta Yuga, it was attained by penance. During Dwapar Yuga, it was attained by performing yajna, while in the present era of Kali Yuga, idol worship is considered to be the means to achieve self-realization. Invirtuosity invites sorrow while virtuosity bestows joy and happiness. The importance of Agniyagya. The sages then asked Sutta about the Agni Yajna, Brahma Yajna, and Guru Puja in order of importance. Sutta said, performing havan by offering matter and materials into the sacred fire, is called Agni Yag. This ritual is especially meant for the brahmachari, celibates. Performing havana during the evening time brings prosperity, while performance of havana during the morning times gives long life. Making sacrifices to the deities during the daytime is called Deva Yajna. A Brahmin should perform Brahma Yajna with the help of the study of the Vedas. First of all, Lord Shiva adopted an auspicious day for himself and named it Sunday. After that, he named the 6 remaining days of the week and attributed them to the following deities respectively: Monday, Durga; Tuesday, Skanda; Wednesday, Vishnu; Thursday, Yama; Friday, Brahma; and Saturday, Indra. Worshipping the deities on their respective days gives peace, prosperity, and all kinds of accomplishments. Appropriate place and time for worshipping Shiva. In the Vidishwar Samhita of Shiva Purana, describing the importance of the place and time for worship of Shiva says, worshipping Shiva at a pure place in a house gives appropriate fruits, while worship done in a cowshed gives virtue, which is 10 times more than the former one. Worshipping Shiva at the banks of a river gives 10 times more virtues than the second one. Worship of Shiva done either in a temple, under the basil plant, etc., or at the banks of Sapt Ganga gives 10 times more virtue than the third one. If Shiva is worshipped at the seashore than the fourth one, while worshipping Shiva on the peak of a mountain gives 10 times more virtue than the fifth one. But worship done with a fully concentrated mind gives the best fruits. During the Satya Yuga, performance of yajna and donations gave complete results. During the Treta Yuga it gave half, while in the present Kali Yuga it gives 1/4 results. Virtuosity performed with a pure heart does not go in vain. The other auspicious days in order of their increasing importance are Surya Sankranti, Tula Sankranti, and Mesh Sankranti, lunar eclipse, and solar eclipse respectively. Worshipping the idol of Shiva. It has been mentioned in the 16th chapter of Vidishwar Samhita that all the desires of a man are completely fulfilled if he worships even an earthen idol of Shiva. For making an idol of Shiva, clay should be acquired from the base of the river, pond, well, or any such other place. In this clay, fragrant powder and milk should be added to make it into a paste. After the construction of the idol is complete, it should be worshipped by all the 16 types of rituals Shodasopakar. If the Shivalinga is constructed by somebody else, then 3 sera of Navidya should be offered to the deity, whereas if one himself has constructed the Shivalinga, then 1/4 of a sera should be offered. If such an idol is worshipped for 1,000 times, then it helps a devotee in attaining to the Satyaloka. Performing abhishek of such an idol helps in self-purification, offering fragrance gives virtues, Navidya increases the lifespan, and worshipping it with dup gives wealth and prosperity respectively. Worshipping the idol with a burning lamp gives knowledge to the devotee, whereas offering betel leaves gives splendors. A devotee who worships Lord Shiva in the Hindu month of Maph and on Krishna Chaturdashi achieves longevity of life. Both worldly pleasures and salvation are achieved by worshipping Shiva. Worshipping Shiva in the Hindu month of Kartik by going japa, penance, etc., gives special fruits, and the devotee becomes free from all kinds of diseases. If a devotee worships Lord Shiva on Sunday, he becomes free from rebirth. The majesty of Pranav Panchakshar. The root sounds akar, yukar, makar, bindu, and nad, which are free from delusions and which originate from Mother Nature, are called Pranav. It is of 2 types, A. Gross, B. Subtle. Pranav mantra Om and Om Namah Shivaya. It symbolizes the unified power of Shiva and Shakti and destroys all the sins of a man. A man desirous of worldly pleasures must chant the mantra, Hrishva Pranav, containing the 3 root sounds A, U, and Ma, which symbolize Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, respectively. On the other hand, a man aspiring for salvation must chant the mantra, Dirgha Pranav, containing A, U, Ma, Nad, and Bindu. Before commencing the study of Vedas, pronouncing Omkar is a must. By chanting Pranav 9 crore times, a man becomes pure. By chanting it for a further 9 crore times, a man develops control over natural forces like wind, smell, and earth, etc. This Pranav mantra is considered to be most powerful and helps a man to attain the abode of Shiva. Worldly bondages and salvation. In the 18th chapter, all the sages requested Sutta to explain the meaning of bondages of life and salvation. Sutta replied, because of the 8 types of bondages which a man feels on this earth, the soul is also known as jiva. The jiva becomes liberated only after becoming free from these 8 bondages. These 8 bondages are nature, intelligence, qualitative, ego, and the Panchatanmatras, i.e. sound, touch, appearance, taste, and smell. Each soul is binded by these 8 aspects of the nature. The actions performed as the result of these bondages is called karma. A man reaps the fruits of his actions, whether good or evil. He either enjoys pleasures or suffers because of sorrow, due to this karma. The soul takes rebirth in a cyclic was binded by the effects of his karmas. The 8 chakra are nothing but the 8 forms of the nature. Shiva is beyond the reach of these 8 chakras, on the contrary, he has full control over these 8 chakras. So a man can become free from the bondages of this world, only by worshipping Shivalinga. The linga is both gross as well as subtle. There are 5 types of linga on this earth, Swayambhu linga, Bindu linga, Pratisthit linga, Char linga, Guru linga. A person desirous of worldly pleasures should worship the cross Shivalinga, whereas one who is desirous of attaining salvation must worship the subtle Shivalinga. The worship of Parthiva linga. Sutta then explains the greatness of worshipping a Parthiva linga. Parthiva linga is the most supreme among all the Shivalingas. All the aspirations of the deities as well as men are fulfilled by the worship of Parthiv linga. During the era of Satya, jewel was considered to be of prime importance, whereas during Treta Yuga and Dwapar Yuga, gold and mercury had the prime importance respectively. In the present era of Kali, a Parthiva linga holds this place of honor. The worship of Parthiva linga begets more virtues than even penance. Just as Ganga among the rivers, Kashi among the sacred places of pilgrimages, Omkar among all the mantras are considered to be superior, in the same way Parthiva linga is considered to the supreme among all the linga. Worshipping a Parthiva linga with a Nishkam Bhava helps a man to attain liberation. Sutta elaborately describes the methods of doing worship of Parthiva linga. After becoming fresh in the morning, a man should wear a Rudraksh garland in his neck and apply bhasma, ash, on his forehead. He should then worship the Parthiva linga. He should chant the various names of Shiva while worshipping the Parthiva linga, like Har, Maheshvar, Shambhu, Shulpani, Mahadeva, etc. After worshipping the Parthiva linga, it should be immersed in the river. Then the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya should be chanted with complete devotion. This is the method which has been described in the Vedas for the worship of Parthiva Linga. The numbers of Parthiva Linga differ according to one's desires. For example, a man who is desirous of learning and knowledge must worship 1000 Parthiva Linga. A man who is desirous of wealth must worship 1500 Parthiva Lingas. A man who is desirous of attaining salvation must worship 1 crore Parthiva Lingas. Parthiva Linga, which is equivalent to the height measured by the 4 fingers and which has been established on a beautiful pedestal, is considered to be the best. Parthiva Linga, which is half of the above-mentioned height, is considered to be medium, and still half than the second category is considered to be inferior Parthiva Linga. It is better and advisable to worship a single Parthiva Linga daily because it is equivalent to the worship of the whole world. Nobody is barred from worshipping Shiva, except the people whose ancestors had been cursed by the sages like Dudhichi, Gautam. Such people should also worship the 8 idols, earth, water, fire, air, sky, sun, moon, and the host, along with the Parthiva Linga. A Brahmin should worship Parthiva Linga as per the methods described in the Vedas. Worship should be done facing north. Importance of Naivedya and Bilva leaves. Sutta then described the importance of Naivedya offered to Lord Shiva. A devotee gets liberated from all of his sins merely at the sight of the Naivedya, which has been offered to Lord Shiva. He attains great virtues by having the prasada. A man must not accept the prasada if the worship has been done under the supervision of a Chandala, but some of the Shivalingas like Banlinga, Siddhalinga, and Swayambhu Linga are exceptions to this rule. The prasada which has been offered to the Shivalinga and remains lying on it is prohibited from having, but the prasad which is not touching the Shivalinga should be accepted. Bilva fruit is considered to be a form of Lord Shiva. Its greatness has been eulogized even by the deities themselves. It is believed that all the places of pilgrimages dwell in the Bilva leaf. Lord Shiva is believed to have his abode in the roots of the Bilva tree. A devotee who waters the roots of the Bilva tree attains greater virtues than offering water to the deities of all the sacred places of pilgrimages. Similarly, a devotee who worships the roots of the Bilva tree attains to the abode of Lord Shiva. Sutta then goes on to explain the greatness of Shiva's name and the importance of Bhasma, ash, and Rudraksh beads in his worship. The name of Shiva is as sacred as Ganges. Similarly, Bhasma and Rudraksh are as holy as the rivers Yamuna and Sarasvati. Therefore, a devotee who possesses the name of Lord Shiva on his lips, who applies Bhasma on his person and who wears a Rudraksh in his neck attains the virtue similar to that of taking a bath in the Sangam. In ancient times, a king by the name of Indrayamna got liberated from the bondages of the world, just by chanting the name of Shiva. The importance of Bhasma, ash, in Shiva's worship. Bhasma is of 2 types, 1, Mahabhasma and 2, Swalpa Bhasma. Shroda, listener, smart, writes according to the Smrtis, and Laukik, worldly, are considered to be the Mahabhasma. There are many types of Swalpa Bhasma. Shroda and smart are meant only for the Brahmins. For the rest of the castes, Laukik Bhasma is appropriate. A Brahmin must apply Bhasma only after initiating it with the mantras. The ashes which remain after burning dry cow dung are called Agneya Bhasma. Applying Tripunda on the forehead with the ashes after the completion of yajna is to the Upanishad rituals like Sandhya and Japa should only be performed after applying Tripunda on the forehead. Importance of Rudraksh. Rudraksh is very dear to Lord Shiva, and hence all the sins of a man get destroyed if he chants the name of Lord Shiva using Rudraksh beads. He also attains salvation after his death. It is believed that the origin of Rudraksh is connected with Shiva's penance. Once while Sadashiv was performing his penance, his eyes opened due to some disturbances. He was so remorseful that tears rolled down from his eyes. These teardrops are believed to be the origin of the Rudraksh trees. Rudraksh of specific colors has been prescribed for different castes. For example, a Brahmin, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, and a Shudra have been instructed to put on Rudraksh of white color, red color, yellow color, and black color respectively. A person who wears 1100 Rudraksh on his body, he unites with Shiva. Rudrakshas are of various types, i.e., Ekmukha Rudraksh, 1 opening, to Rudraksh with 14 openings. Each type of Rudraksh has a specific mantra and a specific deity connected with it. Part 2 Rudra Samhita Shrishtikund. The sages express their desire to know about the manifestation of Shiva and Uma, their marriage, and their life as a householder and the other aspects of Shiva's divinity. Sutta narrated the story of Narada's attachment and lust, how they were ultimately destroyed. He also narrated Narada's deep desire to know about Shiva. Victory of Narada over Kama. Once upon a time, Narada was performing penance in the cave of the Himalaya mountain. Indra, becoming fearful, sent Kamdev to obstruct his penance. But Kamadeva was unsuccessful in his attempt, as the place where Narada was doing penance was the same place where Lord Shiva did penance. After the completion of his penance, Narada became arrogant, thinking that he had defeated Kamadeva. He went to Kailash mountain and narrated about his feat to Lord Shiva. Narada was naive not to realize that it happened only because of the divine power of Shiva. Lord Shiva listened to his arrogant statement and advised Narada not to reveal this secret to anybody. But Narada went to Brahmaloka and boasted about his feat to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma listened to his boisterous statements and advised him not to reveal this to anybody. But Narada was not satisfied. He wanted to give the news of his achievement to Lord Vishnu. So, he went to Lord Vishnu's abode and boasted about his feat of defeating Kamadeva. Lord Vishnu, with a desire to subdue his inflated ego, manifested his illusionary power with the blessings of Lord Shiva. While Narada was returning from Vaikuntha Loka, he saw a beautiful city ruled by a king named Shilnidhi. The king had a daughter, and her Swayamvar was being organized. Numerous kings had arrived to take part in that Swayamvar. Narada, curiously entered the place where the Swayamvar was being held. The king requested Narada to study the lines of the palm of the princess. Narada, infatuated by the princess's beauty, returned to Lord Vishnu and expressed his desire to marry that princess. He also requested Vishnu to make him as handsome as himself, Vishnu. Lord Vishnu made Narada's whole body very beautiful except his face, which he made like a monkey. Narada, being unaware of this, happily went back to the Swayamvar site. Narada, among the kings, his face resembling a monkey, and Lord Vishnu too was present there. The princess saw Narada, whose face was looking like a monkey. She was amused. Ultimately, she put the garland around the neck of Lord Vishnu and went to Vaikuntha Loka along with him. Some of Shiva's Gana, too, were present there in the guise of a Brahmin. Their names were Marad Ganas. When they saw Narada trying to see the reflection of his face in the water, they couldn't control their laughter. When Narada saw his face in the water, he realized that he was looking like a monkey. He became very furious and cursed the Marad Ganas to be born as demons, even though being Brahmins by birth. Furious Narada then went to Lord Vishnu and cursed him, saying, "You too would suffer due to separation from your wife during your incarnation of Rama, and the monkey would come to your help." Lord Vishnu accepted Narada's curse without any hesitation. He then removed the illusionary powers by which Narada's mind was influenced. Now Narada regretted his actions. Lord Vishnu told Narada that everything happened because of Shiva's divine illusions. You did not pay heed to his advice, and hence Shiva, by his illusions, has taught you a lesson. Shiva is beyond the reach of the three basic qualities, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Therefore, you must worship and contemplate on the name of Shiva. All of your sins will be destroyed. After preaching Narada, Lord Vishnu vanished from his sight. Narada then descended down to earth, and while having darshan of numerous Shivalingas, he saw two of the Marad Ganas, whom he had cursed. He told both of them that they would take birth from a giantess's womb, but their father would be sages. He also told them that they would become very famous due to their devotion. Narada went to Lord Brahma and requested him to tell about the divinity of Shiva. Brahma preaches Narada on origin of Vishnu and Brahma. On Narada's request Brahma said, "During the period of Mahapralaya, final annihilation, nothing exists, except Shiva. The power which Shiva manifested from his own self came to be known as Ambika. This Ambika is understood to be the cause of the whole world as well as the nature. Lord Shiva then created a Shivaloka, which is known as Kashi. It is the abode of Shiva and Parvati. A man who makes a pilgrimages of Kashi attains salvation. Lord Shiva felt the need of somebody who could look after the creation in his absence, as he wanted to retire along with Ambika at Kashi. The unified energy of Shiva and Ambika resulted into a radiant physical form of a child. The child asked Shiva about his name and purpose of his being. Lord Shiva named the child as Vishnu and advised him to do a penance which would help him to attain all kinds of accomplishment. He then offered him the knowledge of Vedas through his breath. For this reason it has been said, Yaja Nishvasadam Veda, meaning, whose exhaled air is Veda. Vishnu followed the instruction of Shiva and did a tremendous penance for 12 years, but still, he was not successful in having a darshan of Lord Shiva for the second time. He became worried. He heard a heavenly voice, instructing him to do further penance. Vishnu then recommenced his penance. It continued for many days. By the blessings of Shiva, numerous fountain of streams erupted from his body, which spread in all directions in the form of Brahma. Vishnu was very pleased to see that stream. He went to sleep in that stream's due to which he also came to be known as Narayan, one who has his abode in the water. After that, all the 5 elements manifested from his self. The 3 qualities, Salva, Rajus, and Tamas as well as the ego manifested from his body. Similarly, 5-10 mantras, subtle form of matter. Panchabhuta, sky, water, air, fire, and earth, and ultimately 5 sense organs and 5 organs of action also manifested from. Altogether 24 types of element manifested from the body of Sri Vishnu. Brahma told Narada. While Vishnu was sleeping in the water, a lotus flower manifested from the navel of Vishnu. According to the wish of Shiva, on that lotus was seated with 4 heads. I did not see anything except that lotus flower. I had a desire to know about my identity. So I entered into the hollow, tubular stalk of that lotus flower, but I was not able to find the source. I returned back to the same place. Suddenly I heard a voice which instructed me to do penance. I did a tremendous penance for 12 years with a desire to know about my Creator. Being pleased with me, Lord Vishnu manifested before me within his Chaturabhuj form, but I could not identify him, being influenced by the illusionary power of Shiva. I quarreled with him. Shiva ends Brahma, Vishnu dispute and Shabda Brahma. I asked him as to who he was. Vishnu replied that he was the fulfiller of all of his desires. But I replied to him that I only was the creator, nurturer, and the supreme soul of this world. Vishnu became angry and said that undoubtedly I, Brahma, was the creator of this world, but he, Vishnu, was the one who had created me, Brahma, and the whole world. Vishnu also ordered me to take his refuge and promised to protect me. But being an ignorant I did not believe him. A fierce battle was fought between both of us. A Shivalinga manifested between us to end the battle. We requested that Shivalinga to show its real identity. That Shivalinga had destroyed our pride. We heard a sound Om. We became curious to know the origin of that sound. Vishnu saw a letter A towards the south of that Shivalinga. He also saw the letters U and M center towards the north of the Shivalinga and in its center respectively. He also saw the mantra Om, which was dazzling like the sun. There was no beginning and end to this mantra Om. As we were making efforts to know about its origin, suddenly Shiva appeared in the form of a sage. He gave us the knowledge regarding Om. He also revealed to us that I originated from the letter A, Vishnu originated from letter U, and Shiva himself originated from letter M. The letter A signifies creation, U signifies nurturement, and M signifies salvation. The 3 letters A, V, and M also symbolize the basic causes of creation. A or Brahma also symbolizes the semen, U or Vishnu symbolizes the vagina, and the sound of Om is Maheshvar, the combined sound of A, U, and M. All the 3 united from which manifested a golden egg. This golden egg remained submerged in the water for 1,000 years. The Almighty then cut that egg into 2 halves, from which appeared heaven and earth. We also saw the divine beauty of Maheshvar. Then we saw all the vowels and consonants emanating from the physique of Mahadeva. Vishnu saw the 48 letters within Omkar, which in fact were the 2 following mantras, Tat Purushe Vidyamahi Mahadevayadhimahi, Tano Rudra Prakadayat. And, Tat Savitar Variniam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dio Yona Prakadayat. After that, we also received the Mahamrityunjay mantras like, Om Jum Sah, Ram Rim Jum Sah, and, Trayambakam Yajame. After that, we received the 5-lettered mantra, Om Nama Shivai, the Chintamani mantra, Kshamyom, the Dakshinamurti mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurte Mayam Megam Prayachchha Svaha. At last, we received the great mantra Tatvamasi. Vishnu was so enchanted by this mantra that he started chanting this mantra. We then prayed to Shiva, the creator, the nurturer, and the destroyer. Shiva became very pleased with both of us. He preached us the contents of Veda. Shiva told Vishnu about the methods by which his, Shiva's, worship could be done. He revealed to us that Vishnu actually had manifested from the left portion of Shiva's body and myself from the right portion of his body. He also blessed us that he would manifest his incarnation of Rudra from our body, and also that the purpose of this incarnation would be to do annihilation. Lord Shiva revealed to us that his consort Uma was, in fact, Mother Nature, and her power in the incarnation of Sarasvati would be my consort. Lakshmi, who would also manifest from nature, would be the consort of Vishnu. Brahma told Narada. Lord Shiva informed us that my day consists of 4,000 eras, and similarly, my night too consists of 4,000 eras. Since a month consists of 30 days and a year consists of 12 months. In this way, my age was fixed to be 100 years. One day of Vishnu is equivalent to 1 year of Brahma. Vishnu's age too was fixed to be 100 years. The day of Rudra is equivalent to 1 year of Vishnu, and his age also was fixed to be 100 years. The methods of worshipping Shiva. On the request of the sages, Sutta retold the preaching which had been narrated by Brahma to Narada. Describing the method of Shiva worship, he says, a devotee should get up early in the morning and contemplate on Shiva, who gives benediction. After that, he should finish his daily routing work and perform rituals like Sandhya and Vandana, etc. After that, he should worship Shivalinga according to Vedic rites like Panchopachar, Sodashapakar, etc. He should also perform Abhisika with various offerings. At last, he should beg pardon for his sins. Once, Brahma went to Kshirosagar, the abode of Vishnu, accompanied by the deities, and asked Lord Vishnu how a man could be liberated from his sorrows. Lord Vishnu told them that this objective could be met by worshipping Shivalinga. All the deities then prayed to Lord Shiva, who after becoming pleased instructed Vishwakarma to construct a Shivalinga for them. Vishwakarma then made a Shivalinga for Kabura, a Shivalinga of yellow diamond for Dharmaraj, a Shivalinga of dark-colored diamond for Varuna, a Shivalinga of endrained diamond for Vishnu, and a golden Shivalinga for Brahma. Similarly, Vishwadeva was given a Shivalinga made up of silver, the Ashwini Kumars were given Shivalinga made up of bronze, Lakshmi was given a Shivalinga made up of crystal, Sphatic, sun god was given a Shivalinga made of copper, and the moon was given a Shivalinga made of pearl. Brahma has described the following methods for the worship of Shivalinga. After performing the rituals like Akaman and Pranayama, a devotee should apply Trapunda on his forehead and wear a Rudraksh on his body. After the study of Shantipath and the performance of Devata he should make a resolution if he has any wish to be fulfilled. Then the worship of Shivalinga should be done, with the help of Mahimastavan and offering flowers to the Shivalinga. The purity of the mantras should be maintained while chanting them. It has been mentioned in the Shiva Purana that making offerings in the form of lotus, Shatapatra, Shankapushpi, the leaves of the wood apple tree, helps a man in attaining wealth and prosperity. For becoming free from disease, 50 lotus flowers should be offered to the Shivalinga. Mrityunjay Japa should be chanted for 5 lakh times, for all types of accomplishment. 1 lakh datura fruits should be offered for long life, worldly pleasure, as well as for attaining salvation. The origin of Kailash and Vakuntha. Brahma revealed to Narada how the process of creation commenced. After Lord Shiva vanished from our sight, I transformed myself into the appearance of a swan, and Vishnu transformed his appearance into that of a boar with the purpose of commencing the process of creation. First of all, I created the water. I poured a palmful of water into it, and an egg manifested which consisted of all the 24 elements. This egg was very enormous in size, which made me confused. I did penance for 12 years. Vishnu appeared before me. I requested him to bring that egg to consciousness. Vishnu entered into that egg. As a result of this, Kailash mountain, and all the 7 worlds came into existence. After that, the static living things were created, which symbolized the dark quality, tamas guna. After that, I created 4-footed animals like cows and ox, etc. In spite of these creations, I was not satisfied, so I again went into meditation. As a result, the deities were created which symbolized the virtuous quality, sattvaguna. Once again I meditated, and the human species came into existence, which symbolized the medium quality, rajas guna. With the permission of Lord Shiva, I then created spirits like ghosts, etc. After that, I created my 5 Manasputras, Sanak, Sanadan etc. But they were so ascetic and detached from the world that they showed their disinclination in contributing to the process of creation. This made me angry, tears rolled down from my eyes. With the permission of Vishnu, I did a tremendous penance to have a darshan of Lord Shiva. The emergence of Rudravadar and creation. Brahma said to Narada. When I accomplished my penance, Lord Shiva manifested in his incarnation of Rudra from in between the eyebrows. Half of his body resembled like that of a woman, Ardhanarishwar. I requested him to help me in my creational activities. Rudra created his hosts, Rudragana, who resembled like him. I requested him to create the mortals, to which he laughed and said that he liberated mortals from their sorrow, so how could he fasten them with bondages? Rudra requested me to create the mortals, and then he vanished. Preaching Narada on the essence of Shiva Tattva, Brahma said, with the permission of Shiva, I created the 5 basic elements from which the matter is made and also all types of arts. I also created time. Despite all these creations, I was not satisfied. I created sage Marichi from my eyes, sage Bhrigu from my heart, sage Angira from my head, sage Pulaha from my Vayanvayu, sage Pulatsya from my Udhanvaya, sage Vashishtha from my Samanvayu, sage Krata from my Apanvayu, sage Atri from my ear, Daksha Prajapati from my vital air. You, Narada, manifested from my lap. Sage Kardam and Dharma manifested from my shadow. Then I divided my body into 2 parts, and from each of the 2 parts, Manu and Kshatrupa manifested respectively. Both of them got married, and in this way, conjugal creation commenced. Priyavrata and Atanpad were the 2 sons born to them. Kshatrupa also gave birth to 3 daughters whose names were Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. Sage Ruchi was married to Akuti, Sage Kardam was married to Devahuti, and Daksha Prajapati was married to Prasuti. Sage Yagya and Dakshaina were born to Sage Ruchi and Akuti. Numerous daughters were born to Sage Kardam and Devahuti. Similarly, 24 daughters were born to Daksha and Prasuti. Daksha married 13 of his daughters to Dharma. The rest of his daughters were married to sages like Pulasatya etc. All the 3 worlds are inhabited by the progenies of these sages. The same Daksha Prajapati had 60 daughters in another kalpa, who were married to sages like Kashyapa, etc. In this kalpa, Sati was one of his daughters who was married to Lord Shiva. Sati, being distressed by the disrespect shown by her father Daksha to her husband Shiva, had given up her life by jumping into the sacrificial fire. In her next birth, she was born as Parvati and was again married to Shiva. This way, I created this world with the permission of Shiva. Gananidhi, the Brahman's son. Narada asked Lord Brahma, when did Lord Shiva make Kailash his abode, and what was the reason for the friendship between Shivaji and Kabura? Brahma narrated the following story. There used to live a Brahmin by the name Yagyadat in Kampaliyanagar, who was proficient in the performance of Somyajya. He had a son named Gunanidhi. Though he was a scholar, he was irreligious and kept bad company. He used to indulge in evil activities like gambling. His father, Yagyadat, was unaware of his evil activities. Whenever he asked his wife about Gunanidhi's habits and conduct, his wife used to tell lies and praised the conduct of Gunanidhi. Thus Gunanidhi's condition became worse day by day. Yagyadat married Gunanidhi with a girl belonging to a well-to-do family. But his habits had not changed. His mother tried her best to make him understand, but it was of no avail. One day Yagyadat saw a gambler wearing his ring. He asked him about that ring. The gambler told him that his son, Gunanidhi, had lost it to him in the gamble. He also informed him that he had also lost numerous ornaments and other properties in the gamble. Yagyadat became very angry. He married with another woman after abandoning his wife and son. When Ganadi came to know about his father's second marriage, he moved to another place, cursing his fate. He kept on walking till he became tired. He sat under a tree and started thinking about his further course of action. His heart was full of remorse, and he repented for his past actions. As his mind was engrossed in such kinds of thoughts, he saw some villagers going towards the temple. They were carrying prasad in their hands. Since Gunanidhi was hungry, he followed them, and after reaching the temple, he sat at the main gate of the temple. In the night, after the accomplishment of the pujan, the devotees went to sleep. Gunanidhi entered the premise went to sleep. Gunanidhi entered the premise of the temple. The flame of the lamp was gradually becoming dim, as a result of which he could not see properly. He tore some pieces of cloth, he was wearing and made a thick wick and put it in the lamp. Now the light was sufficient to enable him to see whatever had been offered to the deity. He carried as much fruit and other eatables as possible and tried to sneak out from the temple. Unfortunately, he dashed against a devotee who woke up and chased him shouting, "Thief, thief!" Hearing his cries, all the other devotees woke up and caught Gunanidhi. He was given such a nice thrashing that proved to be fatal, and as a result Gunanidhi died. The Yamadutas arrived to take his soul to Yamaloka. But right then, the Shivaganyas arrived and prevented the Yamadutas from carrying his soul. They informed the Yamadutas that Gunanidhi was entitled to Shivaloka as he had devoutly observed the Shivaratri fast, had listened to the tales of Shiva, and lighted up the lamp which was about to go off. The Shivaganyas also informed the Yamadutas that, in his next birth Gunanidhi would become the king of Kalinga. In this way, Gunanidhi attained Shivaloka. In his next birth, he was born as a son of King Arindam, the king of Kalinga. He was named Dhamma. When he was still young, his father Arindam died. So Dhamma succeeded him as the king of Kalinga. He renovated all the Shiva temples, which came under his jurisdiction, and passed a decree which made the worship of Lord Shiva compulsory for all the subjects. By the blessings of Lord Shiva, he became the king of Alkapuri and was known as Kabura. During the Padma Kalpa, sage Vishrawa was born to sage Palasatya, the Manasputra of Lord Brahma. Vishrawa's son, Vishrawan, ruled over Alkapuri for a long time. This city was constructed by the deity Vishwakarma. Vishrawan was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. During the Kalpa named Megawahan, Gunanidhi did a tremendous penance for 10 lakh years. As a result of this penance, his body was reduced to a skeleton. Lord Shiva became very pleased with him and appeared before him, accompanied by his consort Parvati. He told Gunanidhi to ask for any boon, which will be fulfilled. When Gunanidhi heard Shiva's voice, he opened his eyes, but his eyes were dazzled by the sheer radiance of Lord Shiva. He requested Shiva to restore the power of sight in his eyes. Shiva blessed him, as a result of which he was now able to see the divine sight of Lord Shiva. But he became jealous of Uma, who was present by the side of Shiva. He was wondering as to who was this lady, dearer to Shiva than him. He glanced cruelly towards her. As a result of this, his left eye lost the power of sight. Parvati asked Lord Shiva as to why this sage, Gunanidhi, was looking cruelly towards her. Shiva replied, "He is none other than your son. He is looking at you in astonishment as he is bewildered at the feats achieved during your penance." Lord Shiva then blessed Gunanidhi to become the king of the kings. He also assured him that he will always be present in the vicinity of Alkapuri. After being blessed by Shiva, Gunanidhi also made salutations to Parvati. Parvati said, "Since you have looked at me angrily, your hatred and enmity, towards me were clearly visible. For this reason, you will be known as Kaburas." After blessings, Gunanidhi both Shiva and Parvati to a place called Vaishveshwar. Kailash mountain was situated near Alkanagri. Shiva goes to Kailash. When Rudra, the Ansha of the Almighty Brahma, heard about the tremendous penance Kabura was doing, he started to play his damaru drum, the sound of which reached all the 3 worlds. Rudra then reached the place where Kabura was doing penance. Hearing the sound of his damaru, all the deities including Brahma, Vishnu, and Sadashia appeared before him. When Kabura saw Lord Rudra before himself, he offered his seat to him and worshipped him. He also worshipped the other deities. Rudra was so pleased with Kabura that he decided to stay near him. He called Vishwakarma and ordered him to conduct his abode at Kailash mountain, so that he could live in the vicinity of his great devotee Kabura. Kabura constructed a beautiful city as per his instruction. An auspicious moment was chosen and Shiva went to live at Kailash mountain. He was coronated by the deities. Brahma, in this way, told Narada about Shiva's departure to Kailash mountain. Shiva, being pleased by her devotion, asked her to demand anything. Sandhya said, "Nobody should have lust towards the member of his own clan. There should be no virtuous and chaste woman greater than me in this whole world. Anybody other than my husband who looks at me with evil intentions becomes an impotent man." Lord Shiva blessed her by saying, "Evamastu." Lord Shiva then categorized the lifespan of a man into 4 parts: childhood, adolescence, youth, and old age. He then told her that it was written in her destiny to die by burning. He also advised her to go and surrender her body in the sacrificial fire of the yajna, performed by Medha Tithi. Before jumping into the sacrificial fire, Just remember anybody whom you want as your husband, and your wish would be fulfilled in your next birth when you would take birth as a daughter of Daksha Prajapati. Your father Daksha Prajapati would marry his 27th daughter to Moon, but the Moon would have affection only towards Rohini, and the rest of his wives would be neglected by him. For this reason, he would be cursed by Daksha. All the deities would take refuge in you. After blessing Sandhya in this way, Lord Shiva went back to Kailash mountain. Sandhya born as Arundhati and marries sage Vashishtha. When Lord Shiva went away, Sandhya got up and went to the place where Medhatithi was performing his yajna. She made a mental resolution to have that Brahmin as her husband, who in reality was Vashishtha, and then entered into the sacrificial fire. The fire of the yajna burned her body and carried it to the solar system, where it was divided by the sun god into 3 parts and established in his chariot. The names of these 3 parts were Pratisandhya, Madhyana Sandhya, and Sayam Sandhya. Sandhya's vital force was absorbed by Lord Shiva. When the yajna ended, the sages were surprised to see the presence of a girl who was radiating like gold in the sacrificial fire. They took out that girl child from that yajna kunda. The sages then brought up that girl with love and affection. She was named Arundhati. When she attained the age of 5, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh arrived and married her to Vashishtha. Arundhati enjoyed a happy life and became famous for her chastity. Brahma told Narada that since the day he was humiliated by Shiva, he had grudges against him and wanted to take revenge. I wanted to subdue the arrogance of Shiva by proving to him that even he could be bound by attachment. I asked Daksha and sages like Marich as to how this feat could be achieved. As a result, Rithi and Kama manifested. I instructed Kama to influence Shiva by his powers. Kama agreed but requested me to create a suitably divine woman for Shiva. Myself and Daksha became worried, and during that time, we exhaled fragrant air through our nostrils, which resulted in the creation of the spring season. The spring season was looking divinely beautiful in her physical form. I handed her over to Kama, and thus all 3 of them, spring season, Kama, and Rithi, went to influence Lord Shiva, who was in his deep state of meditation. Creation of Maraganas and Kama's futile attempts. Kama tried his best to bring Lord Shiva under his influence. All living creatures were spellbound by his powers except Lord Shiva and Ganesha. Kama returned to Brahma and told him about his unsuccessful attempts. Brahma sighed heavily. From his sighs were created the ferocious Ganas. These Ganas were shouting, "Ere Mare, kill kill." They even tried to attack Lord Brahma. Kama then pacified the anger of these Ganas. These Ganas were named March. Lord Brahma then sent these Ganas to Shiva along with Kama and Rithi to give it a second try. Once again, their attempts went futile. All of them returned to Lord Brahma and expressed their inability to influence Shiva. Lord Brahma then remembered Vishnu, who appeared instantaneously. Brahma revealed his intentions to him. Lord Vishnu told him that it was foolishness on his part to have enmity towards Shiva. But when Lord Brahma kept on insisting, he revealed to him that this could only be achieved by the blessings of Goddess Parvati. Lord Vishnu said, "If she becomes pleased with you, then she could help you achieve your goal by taking birth in a human form and having Shiva as her husband. Instruct Daksha to do penance so that Parvati takes birth in his house." Durga born as Daksha's daughter Sati. After Lord Vishnu went away, Lord Brahma started meditating on the form of Goddess Durga. She appeared before him. Lord Brahma said, "I need your help in binding Shiva with your Maya." Goddess Durga told Brahma that Lord Shiva in his incarnation of Rudra was beyond the reach of any kind of Maya. But when Brahma kept insisting, then Goddess Durga agreed to help him in his effort. She said, "I will take birth as the daughter of Daksha Prajapati and try to please him by my penance." After assuring Lord Brahma, she vanished. Lord Brahma too went to his abode. With the permission of Lord Brahma, Daksha did penance for 3,000 years. As a result, Goddess Jagdamba appeared before him. She blessed him by saying that she would take birth as his daughter and by her tremendous penance would attain Rudra as her husband. But she warned Daksha that if he showed any kind of disrespect to her, she would end her life. With the permission of Lord Brahma, Daksha Prajapati created many things just by his mental resolution. But finding the absence of any kind of evolution and development in them, he went to Brahma to seek his advice. Brahma instructed him to create with the help of copulation. Daksha Prajapati then married Asikti, the daughter of Panchajan. 10,000 sons, including Haryasya, were born to them, but all of them were directed by Narada to follow the path of salvation. After that, Daksha married Panchayani, from whom were born thousands of sons, but all of them followed the path of salvation and were not interested in creation. Narada was instrumental in changing their minds. Daksha Prajapati became very furious with Narada and cursed him to become an eternal wanderer. He said, "You will never remain at a place for long." When Lord Brahma came to know about Daksha Prajapati's anger towards Narada, he went to him and cooled him down. Subsequently, 60 daughters were born to Daksha. He married his 10 daughters to Dharma, 13 daughters to Kasyap, 27 daughters to Moon, 2 daughters to Bhutangiras, 2 daughters to Krishashva, and the remaining 6 daughters to Garuda. Daksha meditated on the form of Bhagavati, and she instructed him to do penance. Daksha did tremendous penance, and thus Uma was born to Daksha and Virani. Uma was brought up with great love and affection. Uma used to worship Lord Shiva by singing devotional songs in his praise. Sati does penance, Shiva marries Sati. When Sati attained marriageable age, Daksha started worrying. Sati understood the reason behind her father's worry. She went to her mother Virani and expressed her desire to marry Lord Shiva. Her mother made all the arrangements so that Sati could worship Shiva without any problem. Sati commenced her austerity named Nandavrata, which continued for a year. Impressed by her austerities, all the deities descended from heaven to see her. All the deities and the sages requested Lord Shiva to get married, but Shiva did not want to curtail his freedom by getting married. When the deities insisted, he told them to find a suitable match for him. Brahma and Vishnu told Shiva about the tremendous penance Uma was doing to him, Shiva, as her husband. They also requested him to go to her, Uma, and fulfill her desire. Lord Shiva agreed. After Uma had accomplished her penance named Nandavrat, Lord Shiva appeared before her and asked her to demand anything. Uma, because of her shyness, could not say anything. Lord Shiva knew about her desire, so he said, "You will have me as your husband." Uma's face beamed with joy, but she shyly requested Lord Shiva to keep this proposal before Daksha. Shiva agreed and said, "Tathastu." He then went back to his abode, Kailash. Sati narrated the whole story to her parents. Both of them became very happy with this news. Lord Shiva then instructed Brahma to put a formal proposal to Daksha regarding his marriage with Sati. Lord Brahma went and informed Daksha about Lord Shiva's proposal. Daksha was very happy at the proposal. Brahma then came back to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was anxiously waiting for his arrival. When Lord Brahma arrived, he curiously asked about Daksha's response. When Lord Brahma told him about Daksha's approval of the marriage, Shiva was very pleased. Lord Shiva proceeded towards Daksha's abode on the auspicious moment of Falgun, Krishnapaksh, and on the 13th day of Falguni Nakshatra. Sitting on the back of Nandi and accompanied by all the deities, including Lord Brahma and Vishnu, he reached Daksha's residence. The marriage procession was received by Daksha with great respect. Shiva narrated Sati in an auspicious lagna. Being pleased, all the deities eulogized Shiva and danced in joy. Lord Brahma faces the wrath of Shiva. Daksha presented invaluable things to his daughter, Sati, as dowry. Similarly, the Brahmins were presented with large quantities of wealth. Lord Brahma was enchanted by the divine beauty of Sati. With a desire to see her face, he put logs of wet wood into the Yagni Kunda and poured ghee on them. As a result, the atmosphere was filled with smoke. Now Brahma removed the piece of cloth covering her face. He became infatuated by her beauty. When Lord Shiva discovered his evil intentions, he ran towards him menacingly. Lord Shiva wanted to kill him, but the deities prayed to spare his life. Lord Vishnu eulogized and worshipped him, and only then his anger was subdued. Thus, Lord Brahma was forgiven by Shiva. Though Lord Shiva had forgiven Brahma, yet he instructed him to apologize by bowing down his head. Brahma did as he was instructed. Lord Shiva then established on his head. Brahma became ashamed and asked how he could atone for his sins. Lord Shiva instructed Brahma that by worshipping him, he could appropriately atone for his sins. He then instructed Brahma to go to the earth where he would be worshipped as Rudrashur. Shiva said, "Your worship would help the Brahmin in accomplishing every kind of work. Taking lessons from you, people would not dare to have extramarital affairs." After reaching Kailash mountain, Lord Shiva instructed all his Ganas, attendants, not to disturb them, Shiva and Shakti. When all the Ganas went away, Shiva and Shakti enjoyed a blissful union for 25 Deva years. When the rainy season arrived, Shakti requested Shiva to make a residence in such a place that they could not be disturbed by rain, etc. Lord Shiva smiled and said, "Dear Sati, the clouds and rain will not dare to disturb if you are present by my side, no matter wherever we live, even if we live on the peaks of the Himalayas." Sati requested him to make Himalaya as his abode. Lord Shiva agreed, and both of them shifted to their new abode at Himalaya, where they lived for 10,000 Deva years. Importance of devotion in Kali Yuga. Sati requested Lord Shiva to enlighten her mind by giving discourses. Shiva revealed to her the importance of devotion in the Kali Yuga. He said that the value of knowledge, jnana, and asceticism, vairagya, would diminish to the extent of extinction in the era of Kali, and only devotion would help a man in attaining liberation. Lord Shiva said, "I had burnt the time, Kala, for the benefit of the devotees, with my third eye. For the sake of my devotees, I even abandoned Ravana without any partiality. For the welfare of my devotees, I even instructed Nandi to punish sages Vyasa, who was exiled out of Kashi." Shiva preached on many topics like types of devotion, yantra, mantra, scriptures, etc. Sati's doubt about Sri Rama. Devarshi Narada, who was listening to the divine tales of Shiva narrated by Lord Brahma with rapt attention, requested him to describe other characteristics of Shiva. Brahma said, "Once, Lord Shiva, accompanied by Sati, arrived at Dandakaranya, where Sri Rama was wandering in search of Sita, abducted by Ravana. After walking for some time, Lord Shiva saw Sri Rama and Lakshman. Lord Shiva made salutations to Sri Rama. Sati was surprised at Shiva's behaviors. She asked Lord Shiva about the reason he made salutations to Sri Rama. Shiva told Sati that he, Sri Rama, was his deity and an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. But Sati was not satisfied by this reply. She wanted to test whether Sri Rama was really an incarnation of Lord Vishnu or not. She disguised herself as Sita and went to Sri Rama. But Sri Rama recognized her real identity and addressed her as mother. Sati was ashamed but asked Sri Rama why Shiva had saluted him. Sri Rama narrated the following story. Once, Lord Shiva requested Vishwakarma to construct a grand palace and a magnificent throne for him. When everything was ready, Shiva invited all the deities for the crowning ceremony of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu was requested to be seated on the throne and was worshipped by all the deities, including Shiva himself. Vishnu assured Lord Vishnu that all of his, Vishnu's, incarnations would be shown respect by his, Shiva's, devotees. Rama was the incarnation of Vishnu. Sati was now completely satisfied. She was also ashamed of herself for doubting Shiva's words. She went to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva stopped looking at Sati, as her consort, because she had personified herself as Mother Sita. This fact was even corroborated by a heavenly voice. Now Sati's heart was filled up with sorrows. She followed disenchanted Shiva to the Kailash mountain, where he commenced his meditation and went into samadhi. She sat down without saying a word. When Lord Shiva came out from his samadhi, he saw her sitting there. He felt pity on her and drove away her guilt and sorrows by giving discourses. Daksha's animosity towards Shiva performs yajna. Once, the sages organized a yajna at Prayaga, which was attended by all the deities. Lord Shiva too had come, accompanied by Sati. He was eulogized and worshipped by all the deities and the sages. Daksha arrived there and after making salutations to Lord Brahma sat down without showing any kind of respect to Shiva. After that, all the deities and the sages came and made salutations to Daksha, but Shiva sat where he was sitting. The ignorant Daksha cursed Shiva that from now onwards his, Shiva's, share would not be kept in the yajna. At this, Nandi, the vehicle of Shiva, became very angry and cursed Daksha that from today onwards, the Brahmins would fail to understand the essence of Vedas. Lord Shiva then pacified Nandi's anger and both of them went back to their abode. Daksha too went back to his place and started having hatred towards Shiva. Daksha organized a yajna at Kanakal in which everybody except Shiva and Sati were invited. Sage Dudhichi arrived and not finding the seat for Shiva went back, saying that it was impossible to accomplish a yajna without Shiva. Then Daksha commenced the yajna with the assistance of other sages who were present there. When Sati saw all the deities going happily, she became curious to know where they were going. She requested her companion to ask the moon as to where he was going in such a cheerful mood. The moon told her companion that they were going to attend the yajna ceremony, being organized by Daksha. Sati was very surprised at this information. She went to Lord Shiva and sought his permission to go there. Lord Shiva then told Sati that her father did not invite them because of the animosity he was having towards him, Shiva. Sati became very furious and decided to go there to know about the reason why Daksha was performing the yajna without inviting her husband Shiva. Shiva sent Nandi and other Rudraganas as her escorts. Sati's dishonor gives up life. When Sati reached where Daksha was performing his yajna, she met her mother and sisters. They met her with all the respect and honor. But Daksha did not even cast a glance at her. Imitating him, many other people did the same. But Sati, not bothering about the disrespect shown to her, made salutations to both her parents. When she reached near the yajna mandip, she saw that shares of all the deities were there except that of Shiva. She became furious and asked her father as to why Shiva was not invited to the yajna. Daksha then made fun of Shiva and cursed him. This made her more angry, and she declared that she would give up her life in everybody's presence. After the declaration, her mind was engrossed by the thoughts of Shiva. Sati then sat in Padmasana and closed her eyes. By her yogic powers, she united with Shiva, and her lifeless body fell into the Yajna-kunda. This incident shocked everybody, and the Rudraganas furiously picked up their weapons. Right then a heavenly voice was heard. "O mean Daksha! Shame on you! You are a sinner and a fool. Now you are certain to face the wrath of Shiva. Because of your act, the deities too will have to suffer." Daksha became scared. He immediately eulogizing Lord Vishnu. Virbharta cuts off Daksha's head. When Nandi informed Shiva about Sati's death, he became very furious. He angrily pulled out a lock of hair and dashed it against the mountain, which got divided into two parts. From one part manifested the valiant Virbharta, and from the other part Mahakali. Virbhadra and Mahakali were instructed by Shiva to destroy the yajna of Daksha and to kill all the people who were present during the time of Sati's death, including the deities and the sages. After getting the instructions from Lord Shiva, Virbhadra marched with a huge army which included the mighty Shivaganyas like Dakini, Bhairav, and Kapilish, etc. Goddess Kali too joined him with her army which consisted of all her 9 incarnations like Katyayani, etc. As the army marched on, numerous auspicious signs were visible. On the other hand, Daksha experienced many inauspicious signs. His left eye, left arm, and left thigh started throbbing. He saw the vultures flying over his head. He heard the sounds of jackals howling. Daksha then prayed to Lord Vishnu to rescue him from the imminent wrath of Lord Shiva. Lord Vishnu preached Daksha and said, "Daksha, since you have committed the greatest sin by dishonoring Shiva and Sati, even I cannot prevent the calamities which you are certain to face." As Lord Vishnu was preaching, Daksha suddenly there was a loud commotion. The army of Virbhadra had arrived. Daksha was frightened and again prayed to Vishnu to save his life. Lord Vishnu again expressed his helplessness and told him that because of him, all the deities too would have to suffer. A terrible battle was fought between the armies of Virbhadra and the deities. The deities got defeated and fled away. They went to Lord Vishnu and sought his help. Lord Vishnu decided to fight on the side of the deities. The battle recommenced for the second time. Lord Vishnu having a dual fight with Virbhadra and the deities were fighting against his army. Suddenly everybody heard a heavenly voice which said that Virbhadra was invincible. Hearing this, Lord Vishnu and Brahma went to their respective abodes. Daksha ran for his life and hid himself behind the altar where the yajna was being performed. But Virbhadra pulled him out from there and severed his head. He then threw his head in the Agni-kunda. After this, he returned back to Kailash accompanied by his army. Shiva, Dadichi fight and Vishnu, Dadichi fight. Narada, who was listening to the divine tales of Shiva with rapt attention, was very curious to know about the reasons why Lord Vishnu attended a yajna where Shiva was not invited and why did he fight a battle against Virbhadra despite knowing about his invincibility. Lord Brahma told him that all this happened due to the curse of sage Dadichi. In the ancient times, there used to live a king named Shiva, who was a great friend of sage Dadichi. Due to some reasons, both of them developed animosity towards each other. Dadichi considered himself superior because of being a Brahmin. On the other hand, Shiva considered himself superior on account of his wealth. The dispute took a worse turn, and Dadichi punched him on his head. As a result, Shiva fell down unconscious. When he regained his consciousness, he struck sage Dadichi with his weapon named Vajra, which injured Dadichi. Dadichi sought the help of Shukrakarya. Shukrakarya healed his wounds by his mantras. He also taught Dadichi the Mahamrityunjay mantra. Dadichi then did tremendous penance to please Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva appeared before him and blessed him with 3 boons. 1. His bones would become as hard as lightning, Vajra. 2. He would not be killed. 3. He would never be humiliated. Armed with these 3 boons, sage Dadichi again went to fight Kshuva. He kicked him. In return, Kshuva too attacked him with his weapon named Vajra, but it did not have any effect on Dadichi as his bones had become as hard as lightning. King Kshuva did tremendous penance to please Lord Vishnu. Vishnu revealed to him that Dadichi had become immortal because of the blessings of Lord Shiva, but assured him that he would certainly help him in defeating Dadichi. Lord Vishnu then visited the hermitage of sage Dadichi, disguised as a Brahmin. On being asked by Dadichi about the purpose of his arrival, he said that he had come with a desire for a boon on his heart. Sage Dadichi, by his yogic power, came to know about the real identity of the Brahmin. He told that he had been caught. Lord Vishnu was ashamed. Lord Vishnu then went back to Kshuva and instructed him to go to sage Dadichi and act as if he had accepted his superiority. Kshuva went to sage Dadichi and did as he was instructed to do, but Dadichi did not believe his words. Now Lord Vishnu became angry and tried to kill him by his Sudarshan chakra, but he was not successful, as the chakra, given to him by Lord Shiva himself, was not willing to harm a devotee of Shiva. Lord Vishnu then tried to kill Dadichi by shooting a volley of arrows. The deities too attacked with their weapons. Sage Dadichi threw a handful of kusha grass, initiated with mantras, towards them, which destroyed all the weapons of the deities. In the meantime, Lord Brahma arrived on the scene accompanied by Kshuva. He told the deities that it was futile to fight with Dadichi as he was invincible due to the boon given by Lord Shiva. Ultimately, King Kshuva begged for his forgiveness for his offense. Dadichi forgave him but cursed Vishnu, including all the deities, that they would be burnt to ashes by the wrath of Rudra. This was the reason why all the deities and Lord Vishnu attended the yagya organized by Daksha and got defeated by Virbhadra. Daksha revived and yagya completed. The deities, after being defeated by Virbhadra, went to Brahmaloka and narrated everything about the destruction of Daksha's yagya and also how his head was severed by Virbhadra. Brahma became very sad. To bring Daksha back to life and to accomplish the still unfinished yagya, he went to Lord Vishnu to take his help. All the deities accompanied him. Lord Vishnu told them that it was wrong on the part of Daksha to have shown disrespect to Shiva. The deities were wrong to support him. Lord Vishnu then went to Kailash mountain, accompanied by Lord Brahma and all the other deities. All of them eulogized and worshipped Shiva. They also requested him to bring Daksha back to life. Lord Shiva became very pleased and agreed to make Daksha alive. All of them went to Kanakal where Daksha had organized the yagya ceremony. Virbhadra accompanied them. When they reached the site, Lord Shiva could not hold his laughter after seeing the destruction of the site. Anyway, he joined the head of a goat to the torso of Daksha's body and made him alive. He also compensated for all the losses which had been caused by the destruction. All the deities became very pleased, and they eulogized Shiva. Becoming pleased by the invocation and eulogy of the deities, Lord Shiva preached Daksha in the following way: the person who has the right knowledge, Jnani, is the supreme among all human beings. An action that is performed in one's ignorance and jealousy does not liberate a man from his worldly bondages. O Daksha then accomplished his yagya singing the praise of Lord Shiva. He also gave lots of donations to the Brahmins. Everybody returned to their respective houses being fully satisfied. Sathi, the daughter of Daksha, was reborn as Gauri, the daughter of Himalaya and Maina. By her tremendous penance, she again had Lord Shiva as her husband. Birth of Parvati. Himalaya and Maina commenced their penance with the objective of getting Uma as their daughter. Maina did a tremendous penance that lasted for 27 years. Goddess Uma became very pleased by her penance. She appeared before her and asked her to demand anything she wished for. Maina expressed her desire to have 100 valiant sons and a daughter, who would be worshipped by the people in all 3 worlds. Goddess Uma blessed her by saying Tathastu. Maina narrated this incident to her husband Himalaya. He became very pleased. In due course of time, 100 sons were born to Maina. One of the sons was Mainak, who possessed supreme qualities. Due to some reasons, Indra had severed the wings of Mainak's 99 brothers, but by taking the refuge of the ocean, Mainak was able to survive the assault of Indra's Vajra. Himalaya and Maina engaged themselves in the worship of Shiva and Shakti, day and night. After some days, Parvati manifested herself by taking birth. After her birth, the whole mountainous region of Himalaya became illuminated by her radiance. After taking her birth, Parvati gradually started growing up. Various names were given to her like Gurja, Uma, and Jagdamba. Himalaya and Maina felt proud of their fate, which had made them the parents of an incarnation. Seeing the childhood plays of Uma, their hearts knew no bounds. One day, sage Narada arrived there. Himalaya requested him to study the palm of Parvati, as he was curious to know about her future. After studying the lines of the palm, Narada predicted that Parvati was destined to be the wife of an entity who would be beyond the reach of all three qualities. He also revealed to them that her husband would be devoid of any flaws and would be self-born, Rudra. Narada told Himalaya that to have Rudra as her husband, Parvati will have to accomplish great austerities and penance. Narada then went away. When Uma had attained the marriageable age, Maina requested her husband to find a suitable bridegroom for her. Himalaya told her that the words of Narada would never go in vain, hence Uma should be asked to do penance so that she could have Rudra as her husband. But Maina was disinclined to force her tender daughter, Parvati, into such hardships like penance. Parvati then told Maina about her dream, in which she had seen a Brahmin instructing her to do penance to have Rudra as her husband. Maina told Himalaya about Parvati's dream. Himalaya then revealed to Maina about his own dream, in which he had seen Lord Shiva doing penance at Kailash mountain. He had tried to give Parvati to him, Shiva, but Shiva was unwilling to have her service. But Shiva ultimately changed his mind after being satisfied by Parvati's replies. Himalaya said, I saw in my dream that Parvati had pleased Shiva by her tremendous penance, and ultimately both of them got married. Maina was satisfied and waited eagerly for that auspicious moment. The birth of Baum, Mars. Once, when the Ganas of Shiva praised the glory of Mother Sati, Lord Shiva became overjoyed just like an ordinary human being. In his joy, he traveled all around the three worlds without any clothes on his body. He returned to Kailash and went into meditation. While he was engrossed in his samadhi, 3 drops of perspiration originated from his forehead fell down on the earth. From those drops manifested a very beautiful infant, who was of reddish complexion and had 4 arms. Seeing the child, Lord Shiva became concerned about his upbringing. Right then, Mother Earth manifested, and Lord Shiva entrusted the job of the child's upbringing. The child was brought up by Mother Earth with great love and care. The child was named Baum, as he was nurtured and brought up by Bhumi, Earth. When the child grew up, he went to Kashi and did tremendous penance to please Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva became pleased with him and blessed him by granting him Mangaloka, which was superior even to Shukraloka. The same Bhauma is established in the solar system by the name of Mars. Shiva arrives at Himalaya and conversation with Parvati. One day, Lord Shiva accompanied by his Ganas like Bringi, Nandi, etc., arrived at Himalaya with the purpose of doing penance. When Parvati's father, Himalaya, came to know about his arrival, he went to receive him. After making his salutations to Shiva, he was instructed by Shiva to see that he is not disturbed while doing his penance. Himalaya made all the necessary arrangements so that Lord Shiva could perform his penance without being disturbed. One day, Himalaya arrived at the place where Lord Shiva was doing his penance. Parvati too came along with him. Himalaya requested him to keep Parvati, so that she could be at his service. Lord Shiva declined to keep her with him, fearing her presence might cause hindrance in the path of his penance. Now, Himalaya became very concerned about his daughter's future and wondered whether Parvati would remain unmarried. When Parvati saw her father becoming worried by Shiva's response, she decided to intervene. She said to Lord Shiva, I am Prakriti, nature, and you are the Purusha, Almighty. You exist in the Sagan form, with form, because of me. In my absence, you will find it impossible even to exist. Lord Shiva was impressed by her knowledge. He allowed her to be present near him. Himalaya and Parvati became very pleased. Parvati used to come daily to the place where Lord Shiva was doing his penance. Her companions too used to come along. She engaged herself in the worship of Lord Shiva with great devotion. Though Lord Shiva was very much impressed by her devotion, he decided that he won't marry her until she has proved her mettle by her tremendous penance. The deities were tormented by a demon named Tarakasur. They went to Lord Brahma to seek his help. Lord Brahma sent Kamadeva to disturb the samadhi of Shiva, so that being influenced by him, Shiva married Parvati and ultimately killed Tarakasur. This attempt of Brahma was unsuccessful. Shiva burnt Kamadeva with the help of his third eye. Parvati then redoubled her effort to attract the attention of Shiva by engaging herself in tremendous penance. The birth of Vajrang. Narada was curious to know about Tarakasur. He asked Brahma to narrate his tale. Brahma said, Kashyapa, the son of Marichi, had 13 wives. Dithi was the eldest among them. She was the mother of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Both her sons were killed by Lord Vishnu in his incarnations of Nrisimha and Varaha, respectively. Dithi became very sad by the death of her sons. After some time, she again became pregnant, but the fetus was destroyed by Indra's weapon, Vajra, in the womb itself. However, Indra was not able to destroy the fetus completely but was only successful in dividing the fetus into 49 parts. These 49 parts later became famous as Maradganas. Again, Dithi gave birth to Vajrang, who was very valiant and brave. When he grew up, Dithi ordered him to defeat the deities. With his mother's permission and blessings, Vajrang defeated the deities and held them captive. He fastened all the deities with strings and himself became the king of heaven. Seeing the pitiable state of the deities, Brahma, went to Vajrang accompanied by Kashyapa and requested him to free the deities. Vajrang agreed to free them but said he did not have any aspiration of becoming the king of heaven, he only wanted to teach a lesson to Indra. Vajrang returned the heaven to the deities. Later on, he married Varangi, who had been created by me, Brahma. While Vajrang was of virtuous nature, Varangi was met. Birth of Tarakasur and his penance. Varangi gave birth to Tarakasur, the valiant and brave demon. During the time of his birth, the world was affected by inauspicious events like earthquakes, cyclones, etc. His name, Tarakasur, was given by Kashyapa. After he grew up, Tarakasur went to Madhuvan to do penance. His tremendous penance scared the deities. Becoming pleased by his penance, Lord Brahma appeared before him and asked him to demand anything. Tarakasur demanded 2 boons, there should be no man as powerful as him, and except Shiva's son, nobody should be able to kill him. Lord Brahma blessed him by saying, Tathastu. After receiving the boons, Tarakasur returned back to Ranipur and was crowned as the king by Shukrakarya. He then defeated the deities and drove them out from heaven. Now, it came under the rule of the demons. After being driven away from heaven, the deities went to Lord Brahma to seek his help. They asked him as to how they could get rid of this menace called Tarakasur. Brahma revealed to the deities that Tarakasur could be killed only by such a person whose parents are Shiva and Parvati. He also advised them to make efforts so that Shiva agrees to marry Parvati. Lord Brahma then went to Tarakasur, who had now become the king of heaven, and tried to convince him to return it back to the deities. Tarakasur agreed to relinquish the heaven and give it back to the deities. The deities went back to heaven. Kamadeva reduced to ashes by Shiva. Lord Brahma told Narada that the deities decided to send Kamadeva to influence Lord Shiva so that the marriage between him and Parvati is felicitated. Indra called Kamadeva and told him that the demon king Tarakasur could be killed only by such a person who was the son of Shiva and Parvati. Indra instructed Kamadeva to arouse passion in Lord Shiva so that he agrees to marry Parvati. Kamadeva, accompanied by his wife Rati, went to Lord Shiva to accomplish his mission. After reaching the place where Lord Shiva was engrossed in his meditation, Kamadeva made repeated attempts to arouse passion in the heart of Lord Shiva, but his actions were no avail. Right then, Kamadeva saw Parvati arriving accompanied by her companions. She was looking divine in her beauty. Just at that moment, Lord Shiva too had come out of his meditational trance. Kamadeva thought that it was the most appropriate moment to have a go. Kamadeva struck Lord Shiva with his Kamabana, which did have a deep impact on him. Lord Shiva was struck by the awesome beauty of Parvati, and his heart became full of passion for her. But at the same time, he was surprised at the sudden change in his behavior. He realized that it was an act of Kamadeva. Lord Shiva looked all around him. He saw Kamadeva standing towards his left side, with a bow and arrows in his hands. Now he was fully convinced that it was indeed an act of Kamadeva. Kamadeva became terrified, and he started remembering God, but before the deities could come to his rescue, the third eye of Lord Shiva got opened, and Kamadeva was reduced to ashes. Parvati got scared after seeing Lord Shiva in such destructive anger. She went to her house along with her companions. Rati, the wife of Kamadeva, wept inconsolably. The deities arrived and consoled her by saying that by the grace of Lord Shiva, her husband would be alive once again. After that, the deities went near Lord Shiva and did his worship. They told him that it was not the fault of Kamadeva, as he had acted in accordance with the aspirations of the deities. They also told him the mystery of Tarakasura's death. The deities then requested him to make Kamadeva alive once again. Lord Shiva told the deities that Kamadeva would take birth as the son of Krishna and Rukmini in the era of Dwapar. A demon by the name of Shambar would throw him off into the sea. He would kill that demon and marry Rithi, who too would be living in a city near the sea. But the deities were not satisfied. They requested Lord Shiva to help Rithi to unite with her husband. Lord Shiva then told them that Kamadeva would become his Gana, but he also warned them against revealing this fact to anybody. Rithi then went to the city where the demon Shambar was expected to appear in the era of Dwapar. The deities too went back to heaven. Lord Shiva's anger did not subside after the death of Kamadeva, and the whole world started to feel the wrath of Lord Shiva's fury. All the living creatures became terrified. They went to Lord Brahma and prayed to him to save them from Shiva's wrath. Lord Brahma went to Lord Shiva and conveyed their request to him. Lord Shiva agreed to relinquish his anger. Lord Brahma then carried Shiva's fury to the sea and went to the sea. He requested the sea to possess it until the final annihilation. The sea agreed to do this. This way, Lord Shiva's fury entered into the sea, and all the living creatures felt a sign of relief. Narada preaches Parvati, does penance. When Parvati reached her home, she became very sad as she was unable to bear the sorrow of Shiva's separation. Sage Narada arrived there. Her father, Himalaya, narrated the whole story to him. Sage Narada then gave the 5-lettered mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, to her, and he also instructed her to do penance. Parvati's heart was filled up with new enthusiasm. After taking the permission of her parents and relinquishing all of her ornaments and royal apparels, Parvati went to the same place where Lord Shiva himself had done penance. This sacred place was situated in the Himalayas, from where the holy Ganges originated. Parvati's companions also accompanied her. Parvati commenced her penance, which gradually became severer day by day. She did penance for 3,000 years by chanting the 5-lettered mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, and performing other kinds of austerities. Becoming impressed by her tremendous penance, even the deities flocked to see her. Parvati did her penance surrounded by fire on all her sides during summer. In the rainy season, she did her penance without any shelter, and during winter, she used to do penance by immersing herself in neck-deep water. Parvati's power created such heat in the atmosphere that the whole world started to burn. All the deities and sages went to Lord Brahma and told him about the effects Parvati's penance was having on all 3 worlds. Lord Brahma, accompanied by all of them, went to Vishnu. They visited the place where Parvati was doing her penance. They realized that Lord Shiva was the only remedy, and hence all of them went to Lord Shiva and made salutations to him. Lord Shiva inquired about the purpose of their arrival. Lord Vishnu then revealed to him how distressed and tormented the deities were by the activities of the demon, Tarakasura. He also told Shiva that he could be killed by such a person who is born out of the parentage of Shiva and Parvati. Lord Vishnu then told Shiva about Parvati's penance. Initially, Lord Shiva refused to comply with their request, but when the deities continued with their insistence, he ultimately gave his consent. The deities became very pleased. Parvati's love for Shiva tested by Saptarishis and Shiva. After the deities went back, Lord Shiva summoned the Saptarishis, Vashishtha, etc., and instructed them to test Parvati's love for him. The Saptarishis went to Parvati and tested her resolve to marry Lord Shiva. They tried to deter her by all means, but Parvati was firm in her resolve. They went back to Lord Shiva and narrated the whole story. Lord Shiva then himself went to Parvati in the guise of a Brahmin. Parvati, on seeing a Brahmin, welcomed him with full honor. Shiva asked Parvati why she was doing penance. Parvati told him that she wanted to have Shiva as her husband. Lord Shiva, who was in the guise of a Brahmin, started cursing Shiva to see how Parvati reacted to it. Parvati replied that despite her penance, Shiva did not appear, so she has decided to give up her life in the burning pyre. After saying this, Parvati requested the Brahmin to go back, and she herself entered into the burning pyre but remained unharmed. Lord Shiva was very pleased to see her firm resolve and devotion. He again asked her what was the purpose behind doing such a tremendous penance. Parvati told the Brahmin, who in reality was Shiva himself, that she wanted to have Shiva as her husband at any cost. She said, "You say that Lord Shiva does not possess anything, not even wealth. He does not put on clothes on his body. You also say that he is not fit to be a bridegroom for me. But all of your utterances prove your mean intelligence." Parvati, continuing with her statements, said that Shiva was the most capable deity in all three worlds. "There is no sin greater than condemning Shiva," said Parvati. As Shiva, who was in the guise of Brahman, was about to say something, Parvati said to one of her companions, "This condemner should be killed. If this is not possible, then we must leave this place at once." As she was about to leave that place, Lord Shiva revealed his true identity and by holding her hand said, "You have been my wife since time immemorial. Where are you going?" Parvati became very pleased, and her heart was filled up with extreme joy. She requested him to talk to her father regarding their marriage. Lord Shiva agreed. He went back to Kailash mountain and narrated the whole story to his Ganas, Nandi, Bhairav, etc. Everyone became very happy and awaited eagerly for the day Shiva would marry Parvati. Shiva demands Parvati as his consort. Parvati, after successfully accomplishing her penance, came back to her home. Everybody was happy at her arrival. After some time, Himalaya went out to take his bath in the river Ganges. Meanwhile, Lord Shiva arrived in his appearance of Nataraj and started dancing in front of Parvati's mother, Maina. She was so pleased by his dance that she wanted to present jewels to him in appreciation, but Shiva refused to take them. He expressed his desire to marry Parvati, which made Maina furious. In the meantime, Himalaya arrived, and she informed him what Shiva had said. He became angry too and ordered his attendants to drive away Nataraj, Shiva, from that place. Shiva then showed his divine appearance, due to which Himalaya had the vision of Lord Vishnu and Parvati sitting by the side of Lord Shiva in him. Himalaya was very surprised. Lord Shiva again demanded Parvati to be made as his consort, but Himalaya in his ignorance again refused it. Nataraj then returned back to his abode. After Shiva went back, Himalaya had a feeling that perhaps it was Lord Shiva himself who had arrived in the appearance of Nataraj. He realized what a grave blunder had been committed. Because of their guilt consciousness, both Maina and Himalaya felt the germination of devotion in their hearts. Indra and the other deities became afraid when they saw both Himalaya and Maina having deep devotion towards Lord Shiva. They apprehended that if Himalaya happily agrees to marry Parvati with Shiva, then he would no longer live on the earth. He would attain salvation. His departure would make the earth devoid of jewels and other kinds of wealth. To prevent this from happening, they went to Brihaspati and requested him to influence Himalaya's mind by condemning Shiva. But Brihaspati refused to comply. The deities then went to Lord Brahma and made the same request. Brahma refused to meet their demand. Now the deities went to Lord Shiva and requested him not to marry Parvati, as it would make the earth devoid of all kinds of wealth. Lord Shiva, feeling pity, agreed to help them. Lord Shiva went to Himalaya in the guise of a hermit and started cursing himself, Shiva. Maina was deeply influenced by the hermit's words and decided not to marry Parvati with Shiva. She also threatened to give up her life along with Parvati if Parvati was married with Shiva against her wish. Lord Shiva summoned the Saptarishis and instructed them to convince Maina and Himalaya to marry Parvati with him so that Tarakasur could be killed. He feared that his actions would have created many misconceptions in their minds. The Saptarishis went to Himalaya and tried to make him understand that there was not any other way out than marrying Parvati with Shiva. They also warned both Himalaya and Maina that if they did not give their consent to marry Parvati with Shiva, then she would be forcibly abducted by him, Shiva, causing death and destruction to their whole clan. The Saptarishis then narrated the following story. Anaranya, the king. Once upon a time, there was a monarch named Anaranya, belonging to the prestigious lineage of the 14th Manu, Indrasavarni. Renowned for his deep devotion to Lord Shiva, King Anaranya had 5 queens and was blessed with 100 sons and a remarkably beautiful daughter named Padma. As Padma reached maturity, King Anaranya initiated the search for a suitable spouse. During one of Padma's baths in the Bhadra river, sage Pipalada was captivated by her beauty. After gathering information about Padma, the sage approached King Anaranya and expressed his desire to marry her. Fearing dire consequences, the king reluctantly agreed, and Padma was given in marriage to sage Pipalada. Despite the sage's happiness, the king and queen retreated to the forest due to the sorrow of parting with their daughter. Overwhelmed by grief, the queen succumbed to her emotions, while the king, driven by devotion, found his way to Shiva's abode. Padma and Pippalad. Upon Himalaya's request, sage Vashishtha, one of the Saptarishis, recounted the tale of Padma and sage Pippalada. At the time of their marriage, sage Pippalada was aged and feeble. However, Padma, devoted to her marital duties, dutifully served her elderly husband. To test Padma's fidelity, Dharmaraj, in the guise of a young and handsome prince, approached her and coaxed her to abandon her aged husband. Incensed by this proposition, Padma cursed the impostor. Revealing his true identity, Dharmaraj was pleased with Padma's unwavering devotion. Padma then guided him on how to nullify the effects of her curse. She explained that the consequences of his sins would manifest with 4 legs during Satya Yuga, reducing to 3 in Treta Yuga, further diminishing to 2 in Dwapar Yuga, and ultimately having just 1 leg during Kali Yuga. Padma assured him that even this single leg would disappear during the concluding phase of Kali Yuga, serving as appropriate atonement for his sins. In return, Dharmaraj blessed Padma with 10 sons and granted her husband eternal youth and longevity. Encouraged by Himalaya, sage Garga prepared Lagnapatrikas, inviting near and dear ones to the marriage. Vishwakarma was entrusted with constructing a splendid mandip for the wedding. Lord Shiva's marriage procession, divine plays. Lord Shiva, summoning his devoted Ganas, instructed sage Narada to convey the invitation to deities, sages, and celestial entities. The divine procession, adorned with the 7 mothers, Brahmi, Maheshwari, Kamari, Vaishnavi, Varhi, Aindri, and Chamunda, proceeded grandiosely towards the in-laws' abode. The procession, consisting of countless Ganas and deities, including Vishnu, Narada, and Lord Brahma, advanced with grandeur. Narada, the emissary, was dispatched to inform Himalaya of the procession's imminent arrival, while Mainak, Himalaya's son, was designated to receive them. Upon seeing the approaching procession, Maina expressed her eagerness to meet her son-in-law. Seizing the opportunity, Shiva playfully sent various deities in his stead. Mistakenly perceiving them as Shiva, Maina was informed by Narada that they were attendants. Delighted, she wondered about Shiva's own appearance. When Shiva finally arrived, adorned with ashes and ferocious Ganas, Maina, unable to bear the sight, lost consciousness. Swiftly revived by her attendants, she, overwhelmed, expressed her grievances, cursing everyone. She even reproached Parvati for her penance, saying, "Did you undergo such severe penance to marry a husband like Shiva?" Efforts by Brahma and Narada to console her proved futile. Himalaya's intervention led to rebuke, and Maina threatened that Shiva's marriage would be her last day. Finally, Lord Vishnu arrived to pacify her, highlighting the baselessness of her anger, as she had not witnessed Shiva's true benevolent form. Vishnu and Narada eulogized Shiva, who, when pleased, revealed his enchanting beauty. Satisfied, Maina and Himalaya felt proud of their daughter's fortune. Shiva entered the canopy, where the marriage ceremony awaited. Spotting Parvati, both were overjoyed. After the ceremony, sage Garg facilitated Kanyadan, accompanied by Vedic mantras. The women sang auspicious songs, Himalaya presented dowry to Shiva, and Parvati's companions engaged in light-hearted banter with Shiva. Rithi, Kamadeva's wife, seized the moment, pleading with Shiva to revive her dead husband. Overwhelmed, Shiva complied, resurrecting Kamadeva from the ashes provided by Rithi. Their expressions of gratitude concluded the ceremony. As the marriage processionists sought permission to depart, Himalaya requested them to stay a few more days. Shiva's departure with Parvati to Kailash. Shiva remained at his in-laws' house for several days. When the time came for him to leave, sadness pervaded the atmosphere. Maina, particularly disheartened, saw Shiva's departure as a great loss. Eventually, Shiva, accompanied by Parvati, set out for Kailash, blissfully unaware of the anticipation surrounding the arrival of their progeny. Tarakasur, the demon, continued to torment the deities. Unable to bear their suffering, the deities sought help from Lord Brahma, and together they approached Lord Vishnu. Expressing their concern, they mentioned that despite the considerable passage of time, Parvati and Shiva had not yet become parents. They implored Lord Vishnu to remind Shiva of the purpose behind his marriage. Initially hesitant to disturb Shiva's marital bliss, Lord Vishnu eventually relented and, along with the deities, approached Shiva. Eulogizing Shiva and Parvati, the deities conveyed their request for Shiva's contribution to the destruction of Tarakasur. Understanding the situation, Shiva allowed drops of his semen to fall, which Agni, at the deity's insistence, transformed into the form of a pigeon and consumed. Meanwhile, Parvati arrived and, seeing the semen going to waste, cursed the deities, declaring that their wives would remain childless due to their mindless acts. Agni, inflamed by Shiva's semen, sought guidance. Shiva advised him to transfer it into the womb of a noble woman. Following this instruction, Agni injected the semen into the bodies of 6 women through the pores of their hair. Unable to endure the extreme luster of Shiva's semen, the women went to Himachal and expelled it. Even Himachal couldn't bear its brilliance and submerged it in the flowing Ganga. The river carried it, and the brilliance of Shiva's semen established it amidst the reed, sarkanda, bushes. Subsequently, a beautiful child manifested from the Ganga. His birth brought immense joy to the deities, including Shiva and Parvati. This divine event occurred on the 6th day of the bright half of the Hindu month of Margashirsha, and the child was named Kartikeya. Kartikeya. Sage Vishvamitra arrived at the site of the child's manifestation. At the child's persistent request, Vishvamitra performed purification rites and named him Guha. The divine child blessed Vishvamitra, endowing him with divine knowledge and predicting that he would become renowned as Brahmarshi. Agni Deva presented a divine weapon named Shakti to Guha. Guha, wielding this weapon, went to the Kranka mountain and struck it. The mountain crumbled under the impact, and countless demons residing on it sought to attack him. However, Guha, with the assistance of 3 powerful entities, Shak, Vishak, and Nagam, summoned from the blows inflicted by Indra, vanquished the demons. News of Guha's valor reached Indra, who, along with other deities, confronted him. Indra targeted Guha 3 times, each time giving rise to a potent entity, Shak, Vishak, and Nagam. In retaliation, Guha, accompanied by these entities, attacked Indra and his army, forcing them to retreat. 6 goddesses, moved by affection, arrived to feed the child. However, their quarrels ceased when they witnessed Guha appearing with 6 heads. Now able to nurture him individually, each goddess fed him from her breast. Taking Guha under their care, the goddesses raised him with love. One day, curious about Shiva's semen that had fallen to the ground, Parvati inquired about it. Shiva summoned the deities, who narrated the entire story. Shiva and Parvati were delighted to learn about Kartikeya. Lord Shiva then commanded his Ganas to retrieve Kartikeya from the custody of Kritika. The Ganas arrived at Badrakasharama, where Kritika resided. Witnessing the Ganas, Kritika felt apprehensive, but Kartikeya reassured her. The Ganas implored Kartikeya to accompany them. Kartikeya, seeking permission from his mothers, joyfully set out to meet Shiva and Parvati. As Kartikeya bid farewell, his mothers were overcome with emotion. Kartikeya consoled them before boarding the splendid chariot sent by Parvati, embarking on his journey to Kailash. The entire divine assembly, including Shiva, anxiously awaited Kartikeya's arrival. Upon reaching Kailash, Kartikeya received a grand reception, and the atmosphere resonated with jubilation. Each deity presented their respective weapons to him, and Lord Shiva, with the assistance of a Brahmin, crowned Kartikeya as the ruler of Kailashpuri. Kartikeya then shared a story about himself. One day, the Brahmin sage Narada approached me, seeking assistance in finding his lost he-goat intended for sacrifice. The goat had to be located for Narada's vow to be fulfilled. Upon discovering the goat causing trouble in Vishnuloka, I mounted it. After traversing all 3 worlds, the goat returned to its original place, and I dismounted. Narada retrieved his goat, and his yagya was accomplished through my blessings, sparing the goat from sacrifice. Killing of Tarakasur. The deities, bolstered by Kartikeya's presence, gathered at the seashore to confront Tarakasur and his formidable army. The battle ensued, with Tarakasur proving to be a formidable adversary. His powerful blow left Indra unconscious, and the Lokpalas faced a similar fate. Virbharta, Lord Vishnu, and others were also defeated. Amidst the crisis, Lord Brahma urged Kartikeya to engage in battle against Tarakasur, as only he could defeat the demon. Kartikeya stepped forward, and despite Tarakasur's ridicule for relying on a child, a fierce battle unfolded. Both combatants sustained injuries, but seizing an opportune moment, Kartikeya struck Tarakasur's chest with his weapon, Shakti, resulting in the demon's demise. Kartikeya's feat was celebrated by the deities, and he returned to Mother Parvati, who lovingly embraced him. The deities praised Kartikeya for his victory. Killing of Pralam and Banasur. The mountain Kranch sought Kartikeya's help against the torment caused by the demon Banasur. Responding to the plea, Kartikeya hurled his weapon, Shakti, at Banasar's location, reducing the demon to ashes. Pleased with Kartikeya's intervention, Kranch established 3 Shivalingas, Kumarishwar, Pratijayeshwar, and Kapaleshwar, in devotion to Lord Shiva. Another incident involved the demon Pralam, who disrupted the deity's journey to Lord Shiva's abode on Kailash. Tormented by Pralam's actions, Kumud, son of Sheshnag, sought Kartikeya's aid. Kartikeya used his divine weapon, Shakti, to vanquish Pralam and restore peace. Ganesh. Once, Narada expressed his desire to hear the tales of Ganesha. Brahma began narrating. In the Shwetakalpa, Ganesha was born to Shiva and Parvati during their visit to the Kailash mountain shortly after their marriage. On one occasion, Parvati, while going for her bath, instructed Nandi to guard the entrance and permit no one without her consent. By chance, Shiva arrived, and despite Nandi's refusal, he entered. Unpleased, Parvati created an idol from her body's dirt, bringing it to life and granting it the task of guarding. On another bath day for Parvati, she instructed this idol, Ganesha, not to permit anyone without her consent and provided him with a protective stick. Shiva, unaware, tried to enter, and Ganesha, following his instructions, refused entry. A forceful attempt by Shiva led to Ganesha hitting him with the stick. Furious, Shiva ordered his Ganas to kill Ganesha. However, Ganesha easily defeated them, leaving Shiva's Ganas to narrate their failure to Shiva. When Brahma, Vishnu, and other deities arrived, Brahma tried to convince Ganesha but faced an attack. Shiva intervened personally. Shiva severs Ganesha's head, later given elephant head. A fierce battle unfolded between Shiva and Ganesha. Recognizing Ganesha's dominance, Shiva, in desperation, severed his head with the Trishul. Parvati, infuriated by Ganesha's death, manifested numerous goddesses causing havoc. The frightened deities sought refuge in Parvati, pleading for mercy. Parvati declared that their salvation lay in Ganesha becoming alive and worshipable. The deities implored Shiva, who instructed them to bring the head of any creature from the north and attach it to Ganesha's trunk. They found an elephant with a single tusk, severed its head, and joined it to Ganesha's trunk. By Shiva's blessings, Ganesha came back to life. The deities worshipped Ganesha, and peace was restored. Ganesha's marriage. As Kartikeya and Ganesha grew into handsome youths, Shiva and Parvati contemplated their marriages. A dispute arose between Kartikeya and Ganesha on who should marry first. Shiva and Parvati decided that the one who returned after circumambulating the earth would marry first. Kartikeya set out on his journey, but Ganesha, displaying intelligence, circumambulated his parents, citing Vedic principles that equated circumambulating parents to the entire earth. Impressed, Shiva and Parvati decided to marry Ganesha to Siddhi and Riddhi, daughters of Vishvarup Prajapati. They had 2 sons, Kshem and Lab. When Kartikeya learned of Ganesha's marriage, he felt cheated and went into penance on Kranch mountain. Lord Shiva and Parvati tried to pacify him, but Kartikeya remained silent. Both the places, where Kartikeya performed penance and met his parents, hold religious significance. Having a darshan of Kartikeya on the full moon day of Kritika Nakshatra is considered auspicious, destroying sins. Utkund. Tripurasur, the 3 demons. Narada beseeched Lord Brahma to recount the tale of how Lord Shiva annihilated the demons. Lord Brahma began narrating the story of Tripurasur. After the demise of Tarakasur, his 3 sons initiated severe penance. The eldest, Tarkasha, was followed by Vidyanmalai and Kamalaksha. Pleased with their penance, Brahma, granted their wish to create 3 impregnable forts filled with wealth and splendor, guarded by the demon Maya. The golden fort for Taraksha, the silver fort for Kamalaksha, and the iron fort for Vidyanmalai were constructed in the sky, on the earth, and in the netherworld, respectively. After completing the forts, I warned them of their inevitable demise at the hands of Lord Shiva and left. The demons, tormenting the deities, were advised by Lord Brahma to seek Shiva's help. Shiva, in turn, directed them to Lord Vishnu, recognizing the demons' virtue, stating that only when they became irreligious could they be defeated. The deities approached Vishnu, who, after an unsuccessful attempt with armed spirits, created Aryan, an illusory being, with a simple scripture emphasizing action. Vishnu instructed Aryan to propagate this philosophy during the advent of Kali Yuga. The deities' efforts failed, and Vishnu, devising a plan, created an illusory entity called Aryan to propagate a philosophy emphasizing action, Karmavad, and different from Vedic rituals. Aryan, with his disciples Rishi, Yadi, Kirya, and Upadhyay, entered the forts, gradually influencing the Tripurasurs to become irreligious. Witnessing their transformation, the deity sought Shiva's intervention. Parvati, accompanied by Kartik and Ganesha, pleaded with Shiva, while the deities expressed their anger at Parvati for obstructing their objectives. In the ensuing conflict, a Gana named Kumbhadar attacked the deities. The injured deity sought Vishnu's advice, who instructed them to chant the 5-lettered mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, 1 crore times. Pleased, Shiva appeared and assured the deities of fulfilling their wishes. Killings of Tripurasurs. Lord Shiva, armed with the deities' weapons and Vishwakarma's chariot, proceeded toward the forts. However, he faced difficulty releasing his bow. After 1,000 years, Shiva, after worshipping Ganesha, was guided to use the Pashupat weapon. Pashupat's assault destroyed the 3 forts, causing havoc among the demons. The Tripurasurs prayed for mercy, and Shiva assured them that after death, they would be born as his Ganas. Eventually, the Tripurasurs were burnt to death, except for Maya, who survived. Shiva, pacified by the deities and sages, blessed them, and Arihan, along with his followers, received Shiva's blessings before proceeding to a desert. Lord Shiva spares the life of Indra. Sage Sudha recounts the story of Indra visiting Kailash mountain. Shiva, in the guise of a hermit, tested Indra's devotion. Unrecognized by Indra, Shiva, in anger, paralyzed his raised hands. Sage Brihaspati identified Shiva, pleaded for Indra's pardon, and Shiva, pleased, spared Indra's life. Shiva then returned to Kailash, while Indra and Brihaspati went back to their abodes. Manifestation of Jalandhar. The effulgence divided by Lord Shiva into the ocean resulted in the manifestation of a small child at the place where the Ganges merged into the ocean, known as Gangasagar. The child, crying ferociously, created an atmosphere of fear. Deities and sages approached Lord Brahma to discover the reason. Lord Brahma, visiting the seashore, named the child Jalandhar, who would become a mighty ruler of demons, unkillable by any deity except Shiva. The sea, pleased with Brahma's predictions, raised and cared for Jalandhar, who later became the demon ruler after marrying Vrinda. Battle between Jalandhar and the deities. Upon sage Bhrigu's visit, Jalandhar learned about Rahu and the churning of the ocean, resulting in his fury. He sent a messenger, Gasmer, to warn Indra about misappropriating his father's wealth and demanded Indra's refuge. Indra's refusal angered Jalandhar, leading to a battle between his army and the deities. Shukrakarya and sage Brihaspati revived the dead warriors. Jalandhar, on Shukrakarya's advice, submerged the Dhrongiri mountain to hinder Brihaspati's access to medicinal herbs. Demoralized, the deities fled, and Jalandhar captured Indrapuri. The deity sought Vishnu's help, but a dilemma arose as Lakshmi considered Jalandhar a brother. Vishnu promised not to kill Jalandhar and engaged in a battle. Impressed by Jalandhar's valor, Vishnu offered him a boon. Jalandhar requested Vishnu to dwell in Kshirosagar with Lakshmi. Vishnu agreed, making Jalandhar the undefeated ruler of all 3 worlds, except for the deities. Lord Shiva spares the life of Indra. Indra and sage Brihaspati, after an unsuccessful attempt to reach Kailash mountain, encountered Shiva in the guise of a hermit. Indra's aggression towards the hermit prompted Shiva to protect Rahu, who sought refuge. Shiva spared Indra's life and returned to Kailash. Indra and Brihaspati also departed, learning a lesson in devotion. Battle between Lord Shiva and Jalandhar. Jalandhar attacked Kailash, creating a fierce battle. To distract Shiva and his Ganas, Jalandhar created illusory Apsaras and Gandharvas. Enchanted, Shiva and his Ganas paused the battle. Jalandhar, in disguise, approached Parvati but was recognized. Enraged by his evil intentions, Parvati sought Vishnu's help. Vrinda gets dishonored. Lord Vishnu, disguising himself as Jalandhar, created inauspicious dreams for Vrinda, who, restless, ventured into the forest. Discovering sage Bhrigu preaching, she sought help to save her husband. Lord Vishnu, still in disguise, convinced Vrinda to stay with him. Learning the truth later, Vrinda cursed Vishnu for his deceitful trick, predicting a similar fate for him. In the absence of Parvati, the illusory powers ended, and Shiva resumed battle. Jalandhar's enchantment ploy failed. Simultaneously, Parvati learned about Vrinda's curse and approached Vishnu to end the illusionary marriage. Killing of Jalandhar. With renewed focus, Shiva battled the demons Shum and Nishambh. Jalandhar returned to fight, creating an indecisive battle. Impressed by Jalandhar's valor, Shiva offered him a boon. Jalandhar, seizing the opportunity, demanded Parvati as his consort. The enraged Shiva severed Jalandhar's head with his chakra, and Jalandhar's soul united with Shiva after his demise. When the deities came to know about the killing of Jalandhar, they became overjoyed. They came to Lord Shiva and eulogized him. They also hailed his great achievement. After expressing their gratitude, they returned to their respective abodes. Manifestation of Amla, Myrobalan, Tulsi, Basil, and Malti. Lord Vishnu was very much saddened by the death of Vrinda. He took the ashes from the pyre and after applying them on his body started wandering here and there. The deities became very worried to see the condition of Lord Vishnu. They went to Lord Shiva and requested him to eliminate the false attachment with which Sri Vishnu was suffering. Lord Shiva sent the deities to Goddess Parvati, saying that she would certainly help in this regard. The deities went to Goddess Parvati and prayed to her. She became very pleased and with the assistance of Lakshmi and Sarasvati, gave some seeds to them. The deities sprayed those seeds on the pyre, on which Vrinda had given up her life. 3 holy plants manifested from that pyre, Amla, Tulsi, and Malti. Later on, Tulsi and Malti attained Vishnuloka by the virtue of their respective penance. Birth of Shankachuta and his marriage. Sutta narrated the tale of the birth of Shankachuta and how Shiva killed him with his Trishula. He told the sages that Shankachuta was born to the demon king Damba. Shankachuta was, in fact, Sudama in his previous life. He was born in the family of demons due to the curse of Radha. When Shankachuta grew up, he went to Pushkar, Ajmer, Rajasthan, and did tremendous penance to please Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma blessed him and said that he would remain invincible. He also instructed Shankachuta to go to Badrakashrama where he would find his would-be wife, Tulsi, the daughter of Dharmadwaja. Shankachuta went to Badrakashrama and married Tulsi as per the instructions of Lord Brahma. He then returned to his capital accompanied by his wife Tulsi. Shankachuta becomes the ruler of all the 3 worlds. When Shankachuta reached his capital after marrying Tulsi, he was crowned as the king of the demons by Shukrakarya. After his coronation, Shankachuta attacked Indrapuri supported by his huge army and defeated the deities. In a very short time, all 3 worlds were under his control. After being defeated by Shankachuta, the deities went to Lord Brahma and sought his help in eliminating the menace called Shankachuta. Lord Brahma then took them to Lord Vishnu. All of them were taken to Lord Shiva by Vishnu. They expressed their request to liberate them from the troubles created by Shankachuta. Lord Shiva assured the deities that he would certainly kill Shankachuta, and hence they should not worry about him. The deities then happily returned to their respective abodes. Lord Shiva sent his messenger named Pushpadant to Shankachuta to ask him to return the kingdom of the deities to them. Shankachuta refused to oblige this demand, on the contrary, he expressed his willingness and readiness to fight Lord Shiva. Pushpadant returned and narrated the whole story to Lord Shiva. Shiva kills Shankachuta. Lord Shiva was now fully convinced about the inevitability of the battle. He first sent all his Ganas under the leadership of Kartikeya and Ganesha. Later on, Bhadrakali proceeded towards the battlefield with a huge army as per the own wish of Lord Shiva himself. At last, Lord Shiva proceeded towards the battlefield accompanied by the deities. All the troops collected at the bank of the river Chandrabhaga and rested under the shade of a banyan tree. Shankachuta handed over the kingdom to his son and went to his wife to take her permission before going to the battlefield. His wife was reluctant to allow him to go, but he somehow managed to convince her. He then proceeded towards the banks of Chandrabhaga with a huge army. A fierce battle started between the deities and the demons. Both of them attacked each other with the most destructive weapons. But when the army of Chandrakuta began to dominate the fight, the deities fled away and took the refuge of Lord Shiva. They told Shiva of the number of deities who had been killed while fighting. After the defeat of the deities and the Ganas, Kartikeya and Ganesha went to fight Shankachuta. A spectacular battle was fought between Shankachuta and both of them. Later on, they were joined by Bhadrakali. Bhadrakali would have devoured Shankachuta without any problem, but she spared his life because of the boon given to him by Lord Brahma. Now it was the turn of Lord Shiva to join the battle, but even he could not cause any harm to him because of Lord Brahma's boon. While a tremendous battle was being fought between Lord Shiva and Shankachuta, Lord Vishnu appeared and demanded the armor from Shankachuta, which he had put on his body in the guise of a Brahmin. Shankachuta gave his armor to him without any kind of suspicion. Lord Vishnu then went to Shankachuta's wife in the guise of her husband, i.e., Shankachuta. He destroyed the chastity of Tulsi, Shankachuda's wife. Shankachuda derived his power from the chastity of his wife, and it vanished the moment her chastity was destroyed. Bhadrakali was creating havoc in the army of Shankachuda. Shankachuda became very furious and attacked Shiva. Shiva repulsed his assault and attacked him with his trishul. Shankachuda, who had become powerless, was killed instantaneously. The deities were very pleased at the death of Shankachuda. After worshipping Lord Shiva, they went back to their respective abodes. Tulsi curses Lord Vishnu. After being instructed by goddess Parvati, Lord Vishnu had gone to Tulsi in the guise of her husband, Shankachuda, so that the breach of Tulsi's chastity could help Lord Shiva to kill Shankachuda, who derived his power from Tulsi's chastity and virtuosity. Initially, Tulsi could not recognize Lord Vishnu. She was extremely joyous at his arrival. But very soon she was able to realize the real identity of Lord Vishnu, who had disguised himself as her husband. She became very angry and cursed Lord Vishnu to become a stone. She was crying inconsolably. Lord Vishnu contemplated on Shiva, as a result of which he appeared. Lord Shiva blessed Tulsi that she would become the beloved of Lord Vishnu. Due to Tulsi's curse, Lord Vishnu attained the form of Shalagram, which is a stone, and because of Lord Shiva's blessings, Tulsi leaves started being offered to the Shalagram in the process of its worship. Killing of Hiranyaksha. While narrating the tale of Hiranyaksha's killing, Sutta said, once, Shiva and Parvati were living at the Mandarachal mountain. Parvati playfully covered both the eyes of Shiva with her palms. This made Lord Shiva perspire from his forehead. From this perspiration manifested a ferocious creature. Parvati asked Lord Shiva as to who this creature was. Lord Shiva told her that he was his son Andhak. Parvati brought up Andhak with great love and care. Hiranyaksha, the demon, did a tremendous penance to please Lord Shiva, with a desire to acquire a son. Lord Shiva became pleased with his penance and appeared before him. He asked Hiranyaksha to demand any boon, which he promised to fulfill. Hiranyaksha expressed his desire to have a very powerful and mighty son. Shiva decided to give Andhak to him, who at that time was being brought up by Parvati. Hiranyaksha brought young Andhak along with him. With the help of Andhak, he conquered all 3 worlds. He lifted up the earth and proceeded towards the netherworld. The deities became very terrified. They prayed to Lord Vishnu, and when he appeared, they requested him to kill Hiranyaksha. Lord Vishnu killed Hiranyaksha in his incarnation of a boar. After killing Hiranyaksha, Lord Vishnu made Andhak the king of the netherworld and placed the earth at its original place. Killing of Hiranyakshipu. Hiranyakashipu was filled with grief when he heard the news of his brother's death. To avenge Hiranyaksha's death, he started to torment the deities. Becoming homeless, the deities started wandering here and there. Hiranyakashipu was still unsatisfied. He wanted to acquire more power and authority. He went to the Mandarachal mountain and started doing tremendous penance to please Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma appeared before him and asked him to demand anything he wished to be fulfilled. Hiranyakashipu said, "O Lord, bless me so that I do neither die during the day nor during the night, neither on the earth nor in the sky, neither by the deities nor by the demons, neither by a human being nor by an animal. Bless me, O Lord. Oh, that I do not get killed by any type of weapon." Lord Brahma blessed Hiranyakshipu and said, "So be it." Now, Hiranyakashipu became more ruthless and arrogant. He declared himself the Almighty God and ordered his subjects to worship him and his idol. His son, Prahlada, was a very great devotee of Lord Vishnu. He did not pay heed to his father's command and continued to worship Lord Vishnu. Hiranyakashipu tried to kill Prahlada many times, but each time he survived by the blessings of Lord Vishnu. When Hiranyakashipu's atrocities crossed all its limits, the deities went to Lord Vishnu and requested him to kill Hiranyakashipu. Lord Vishnu appeared in his incarnation of Nrisimha, half lion and half man, and killed Hiranyakashipu with his sharp nails, during the dusk. After giving his kingdom to his son Prahlad, Lord Vishnu went back to his abode. Shiva teaches Mritasanjivani Vidya to Shukrakarya. Shukrakarya did severe penance for 5,000 years to please Shiva and acquire the secrets of Mritasanjivani Vidya, bringing back a dead person alive, from him. When Lord Shiva did not appear even after such tremendous penance, then he indulged himself in the severest form of penance, by quitting having food and water. He started living only on air. This continued for thousands of years. Lord Shiva became very pleased with his penance. He manifested from the very Shivalinga Shukrakarya had been worshipping until now. He taught the secrets of Amrita Sanjivani Vidya to him and told him that with the help of this Vidya, he would become capable of making alive the dead persons. Lord Shiva also blessed Shukrakarya to become a star and attain respectability among all the planets. After blessing Shukrakarya like this, Lord Shiva disappeared into the same Shivalinga from which he had appeared. Battle between Lord Shiva and Andhak. Once, Andhak's brothers jokingly told him that, since his real parents were somebody else, Shiva and Parvati, therefore he was not fit to rule them. Though they had told this in good humor, yet Andhak was very much saddened by their remark. He relinquished his throne and went to a deserted place in the forest and started to do severe penance. Lord Brahma became very pleased by his penance and appeared before him. He asked him to demand anything he wished to be fulfilled. Andhak said, "I only long for the love and affection of my brothers. O Lord! Bless me so that nobody should be able to kill me except Lord Shiva." Lord Brahma blessed him by saying, "So be it." Andhak returned to his kingdom and with the cooperation of his brothers like Prahlad, etc., he brought even the deities under his control. But drunk with power, he became very arrogant and started tormenting all the creatures. He did not show any respect to the Vedas, Brahmins, and the deities. Andhak had become so arrogant that once he even dared to dishonor his own mother Parvati, who at that time was living at the Mandarachal mountain. Shiva became very furious with him. Andhak attacked Shiva with his huge army. Lord Shiva sent his numerous Ganas to fight him, but all of them were killed by Andhak. When Lord Shiva got the news of the arrival of Andhak with his army, he sent Lord Vishnu and his remaining Ganas to fight him. He himself went to perform his austerity named Pashupat. The deities fought with Andhak for 1,000 years. Meanwhile, Lord Shiva returned after completing his Pashupat Vrata and joined them. Seeing Lord Shiva in front of him, Andhak became furious and attacked him ferociously. His companion, whose name was Vedas, devoured all the deities. The demons who had been killed in the battle were brought back to life by Shukrakarya. Lord Shiva became very angry and swallowed Shukrakarya. He also extracted the deities from the stomach of Vedas who had been swallowed by him earlier. After that, Lord Shiva attacked Andhak with his trident, which injured him. But from each drop of his blood which fell on the ground, manifested thousands of demons who resembled Andhak. Lord Shiva then instructed Goddess Chandika to drink the blood, while he killed all the demons. Goddess Chandika followed the instructions of Shiva and drank each drop of blood, which oozed out from the wounds of the demons and did not let a single drop of blood fall on the ground. After killing all the demons, Lord Shiva lifted Andhak with his trident and hanged him between the earth and sky. Andhak remained there for a very long period, bearing the heat of the sun and the showers of rain. But he remained alive. Ultimately he had to take the refuge of Lord Shiva to save his life. Lord Shiva became pleased by his eulogy and made him his Ganadhes, leader of all the Ganas. When Lord Shiva swallowed up Shukrakarya, he became very restless and started to find out a way through which he could come out from Shiva's stomach. But all of his efforts went in vain. Finding no other option, he started to chant the name of Lord Shiva. His chantings continued for 100 years. By the blessings of Shiva, he came out from Shiva's stomach through the ejaculated semen. After coming out, Shukrakarya eulogized Lord Shiva. Shiva became pleased with him and showered him with affection just like his own son. After being blessed, Shukrakarya went and rejoined the army of the demons. Killing of Gajasur. Goddess Durga had killed the demon Mahishasur, who used to torment the deities. Gajasur was the son of Mahishasur. To avenge his father's death, Gajasur did a tremendous penance to please Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma appeared before him and asked him to demand any boon. Gajasur said, "O Lord, even a Jitendriya, one who has full control over his senses, should not be able to kill me." Lord Brahma blessed him by saying, "So be it." Gradually, Gajasur's atrocities crossed all limits. He became the lord of all the three worlds. He forced even the deities to worship him. He used to torment the Brahmins and the other religious people. One day Gajasur arrived at Kashi and started tormenting the people living over there. The deities came to Lord Shiva and requested him to rescue Kashi by killing Gajasur. Lord Shiva came to Kashi and fought a battle with Gajasur. He killed Gajasur with his trident. At the time of his death, Gajasur eulogized Lord Shiva and requested him to put his, Gajasur's, skin on his, Shiva's, body. Lord Shiva agreed to fulfill his wish. At the spot where Gajasur was killed, a famous Shivalinga by the name of Kritivaseshwar was constructed as per the own wish of Lord Shiva. Killing of Niradayatiya. Dithi was filled with grief when she came to know about her son's, Hiranyaksha, death, who was killed by Lord Vishnu. Niradayatiya, who was the maternal uncle of Prahlada, consoled her and promised to avenge the death of Hiranyaksha. He thought to destroy the Vedic religion. According to him, the deities derived their strength and power from this very Vedic religion. He planned to eliminate the priestly class Brahmins so that the chances of yagyas being performed become extinct, and the deities were starved to such an extent that they became weak and powerless. Thinking that then it would not be very difficult to kill the weak deities, Niradayatiya arrived at Kashi to execute his plan, which during those times was the chief center of the Brahmins. He attained the form of a tiger and stationed himself in a nearby forest. He used to kill any Brahmin who used to come over there to collect kusha, grass and fuel. With the help of his illusionary powers, he used to attain the form of a hermit during the daytime and lived among them. But during the night, he used to enter into the houses of the Brahmins in the form of a tiger and used to devour them. On one night of Shivaratri, when a Brahmin was busy worshipping Lord Shiva, Niradayatiya, who was in the form of a tiger, entered the temple. But, since the Brahmin was engaged in the worship of Lord Shiva, he could not harm the Brahmin. Lord Shiva emerged from the very Shivalinga, which the Brahmin was worshipping, and punched the demon with his clenched fist, so hard that he died. Killing of Vidal and Utpal. Long, long ago, there used to live two demons by the names of Vidal and Utpal. Both of them did a tremendous penance to please Lord Brahma. After being blessed by Lord Brahma, they became very arrogant and started tormenting the deities and the Brahmins. The deities went to Lord Brahma and sought his help. Lord Brahma told them that both the demons would be killed by goddess Parvati very soon. He also instructed the deities to eulogize Shiva and Parvati to seek their blessings. The deities went back and started eulogizing Shiva and Parvati. One fateful day, Vidal and Utpal arrived at the place where goddess Parvati was having amusements with her companions. Vidal and Utpal had disguised themselves as the Ganas of Shiva. Lord Shiva recognized the real identity of the demons. He signaled towards Parvati, pointing towards the demons. Parvati, who was playing with a ball with her companions, understood what Lord Shiva meant to say. She hit both of them with the ball, with such force that both the demons died on the spot. The ball then fell down on the ground and transformed into a Shivalinga, which became Kandukshwar. The deities became very pleased at the death of Vidal and Utpal. Part 3, Shatrudra Samhita. The sages requested Sutta to describe the different incarnations of Lord Shiva. Sutta told them that, although Lord Shiva took many incarnations, 5 of his incarnations were very important: Satyajat Namadeva, Tat Purusha, Agaresh, and Ishan. 5 Shiva incarnations. Satyajat, Lord Shiva took his first incarnation from the physique of Lord Brahma, who was engrossed in his deep state of meditation, during the 19th Kalpa named Shweta Lohit. Lord Brahma gave him the name Satyajat and eulogized him. Later on, from the physique of Satyajat, 4 of his disciples manifested, whose names were Sunand, Nandan, Vishwanandan, and Upanandan. All 4 disciples were of fair complexion. Lord Shiva blessed Brahma and empowered him to do creation. Namdeva, during the 20th Kalpa named Rakta, the complexion of Lord Brahma turned red while he was engrossed in his meditative state. From his body manifested an entity who also was of red complexion. Lord Brahma named him Namadeva, considering him to be the incarnation of Lord Shiva, and eulogized him. Later on, 4 sons were born to Namadeva, whose names were Viraj, Viwa, Vishok, and Vishwabhavan. All of them were of red complexion, just like their father Namadeva. Namdeva Shiva, along with his virtuous progenies, blessed Lord Brahma with the power of creation. Tat Purusha, the 21st Kalpa on the earth, was known as Pitavasa. It was named so because of the apparel of Lord Brahma, which was of yellow color. Lord Brahma's prayer resulted in the manifestation of an effulgent entity. Considering this entity as Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma started chanting the mantras of Shiva Gayatri. After the chanting of the mantras, numerous entities manifested who had put on apparels of yellow color on their bodies. This way, the 3rd incarnation of Shiva, popularly known as Tat Purusha, manifested. Agaresh, after the Pitavasa Kalpa came the Shiva Kalpa. A black-complexioned entity manifested while Lord Brahma was engrossed in his deep meditative state. Lord Brahma, considering this entity as Akar Shiva, started eulogizing him. Lord Brahma's eulogization resulted in the manifestation of 4 more entities who had the same black complexion as that of Akar Shiva. Their names were Krishna, Krishnashika, Krishnamukha, and Krishnakantari. Gaur Shiva, along with those 4 entities, blessed Lord Brahma with the power of creation. Ishan, during the Kalpa named Vishvarup, manifestations of Sarasvati and Ishan Shiva took place. Lord Brahma eulogized Ishan Shiva, after which 4 divine entities named Jati, Mundi, Shikhandi, and Ardamundi manifested from Ishan Shiva. All of them blessed Lord Brahma with the power of creation. 8 idols of Shiva. After describing the 5 chief incarnations of Lord Shiva, Sutta explained about the 8 famous idols of Lord Shiva: Sharva, Bhava, Rudra, Ugra, Bhima, Pashupati, Ishan, and Mahadeva. These 8 idols of Shiva symbolize the 8 natural elements which help in the process of creation, nurturance, and annihilation. These 8 natural elements are land, water, fire, air, sky, supreme soul, Kshatrajya, sun, and the moon. Being established in these 8 idols, Shiva controls the whole world. Shiva as Ardhanarishwar. Once upon a time, Lord Brahma, not seeing an expansion in his creation, became very worried. A heavenly voice instructed him to commence creation with the help of copulative activities. But since all the incarnations of Shiva had been males till then, therefore Lord Brahma was finding it impossible. Lord Brahma contemplated on the form of Shiva and Shakti. Lord Shiva became very pleased with him and appeared in his form of Ardhanarishwar, half male half female. Left side of his body resembled like a woman while the right side appeared like a man. Lord Brahma worshipped this form of Shiva. Lord Shiva then separated the feminine part of his body and thus manifested Mother Shakti. Lord Brahma worshipped her and requested to bestow such power by which he could create a woman. Goddess Shakti blessed him by saying, "So be it," and vanished. This way Lord Brahma became capable of commencing copulative creation. Various incarnation of Vyasa and Lord Shiva. During the Varha Kalpa of the 7th Manvantar, Lord Vishnu illuminated all the 3 worlds by his divine presence. This 7th Manvantara consisted of 4 yugas which repeated themselves in a cyclic way for 12 times. The first Dwapar of this 7th Manvantar saw the manifestation of Lord Shiva for the welfare of the Brahmins. When Kali Yuga arrived, Lord Shiva again manifested himself along with Goddess Shakti and was known as Mahamuni Shweta. Lord Brahma had the privilege of becoming his disciple. During the second Dwapar, sage Vyasa existed as Satya, Prajapati, and Lord Shiva became famous as Sutra. Lord Shiva in his incarnation of Sutra had many disciples, among whom Dundubi was very famous. During the third Dwapar, sage Vyasa took his incarnation as Bhargava and Lord Shiva became famous as Daman. Lord Shiva in his incarnation as Daman had 4 disciples, among whom Vishoka was very famous. When Kali Yuga arrived after this third Dwapar, Lord Shiva along with his disciples helped sage Vyasa. During the 4th Dwapar, sage Vyasa took his incarnation as Angira and Lord Shiva as Suhotra. Even in this incarnation Lord Shiva had 4 disciples, among whom Samukh was very famous. Lord Shiva along with his disciples helped Angira. During the 5th Dwapar, sage Vyasa took his incarnation as Savita and Lord Shiva as Kanka, who was very famous for his tremendous austerities. Kanka had 4 disciples, among whom Sanak was very famous. During the 6th Dwapar, sage Vyasa took his incarnation as Mrityu and Lord Shiva as Lokakshi. Lokakshi had 4 disciples, among whom Sudama was very prominent. During the 7th Dwapar, sage Vyasa took incarnation as Indra and Lord Shiva as Jajasesha. Jajasesha had 4 disciples, among whom Saraswat was very prominent. During the 8th Dwapar, sage Vyasa took his incarnation as Vashishtha and Lord Shiva as Dadhivahan. Dadhivahan had 4 disciples, among whom Kapila was very famous. During the 9th Dwapar, sage Vyasa took incarnation as Saraswat and Lord Shiva as Rishab. Lord Shiva in his incarnation as Rishabdeva had 4 disciples, among whom Parashar was very famous. Nandikeshwar. While describing the incarnation of Nandikeshwar, Sutta says sage Shila did a tremendous penance to please Lord Shiva with an aspiration to have a son. Lord Shiva appeared before him and asked him to demand any boon he wished. Sage Shilad expressed his desire to have a son who is not born from a physical body and who is proficient in all the scriptural knowledges. Lord Shiva blessed him by saying, "So be it." Sage Shilad then returned to his hermitage and performed a yajna. From the Yagyakunda appeared a child who possessed 4 arms and 3 eyes. Sage Shilad was very pleased to see that child. The birth of the child was celebrated with great fanfare. Lord Shiva and Parvati arrived to bless the child. The child was named Nandi as his birth had given immense joy, Ananda, to Sage Shilad. Later on, Nandi lived with his father like any other normal child and was brought up with great love and care. He became proficient in all the scriptures within 7 years. Being inspired by Lord Shiva, 2 Brahmins came to Sage Shilad and informed him that after 1 year Nandi would be no more. Sage Shilad became extremely sad. Seeing his father in his sorrowful mood, Nandi consoled him and later on went to do penance. His tremendous penance pleased Lord Shiva and Parvati, and both of them appeared before him. Lord Shiva blessed him and said, "You are just like me, so you will never die." Lord Shiva also gave one of his garlands to him. As soon as Nandi wore that garland, he imbibed all the qualities of Lord Shiva. After that, Lord Shiva took out some water from his locks of hair and sprinkled on him, as a result of which 5 rivers came into existence. These 5 rivers were later on came to be known as Panchanad. Lord Shiva then made him the leader of all his Ganas. Later on, Goddess Parvati took Nandi under her guidance and considered him just like her own son. Nandi was married to Suyasha, the daughter of Marut. Ultimately, all of them accompanied Lord Shiva to his abode. Bhairav gets liberated from his sin. Bhairav, created by Lord Shiva from his 3rd eye, had severed one of the 5 heads of Lord Brahma on the instruction of Lord Shiva. Now Brahma was left with only 4 heads. Carrying the skull of Brahma in his hand, Bhairava started wandering in all the 3 worlds. To atone for his sin of severing the head of Lord Brahma, he was begging alms. Bhairav reached Vishnuloka, where he was welcomed warmly by Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi. Goddess Lakshmi dropped the learning, Vidya, named Manorath, by which all wishes could be fulfilled, into the begging bowl, skull, of Bhairav. Bhairav became extremely happy by this gift. Lord Shiva had created a ogress named Brahmahatya and had instructed Bhairav to reach Kashi before her. According to Lord Shiva, this way the sin committed by Bhairav could be successfully atoned. After being blessed by Goddess Lakshmi, Bhairav took the permission of Lord Vishnu and proceeded towards Kashi. After his departure, Brahmahatya was asked to stop chasing Bhairav. But she refused, saying that she was just following the instruction of Lord Shiva. When Bhairav reached Kashi, Brahmahatya too came near the outskirts of the city, but could not enter it because of Lord Shiva's power. Instead, she entered the netherworld, Patal Loka. As soon as Bhairav entered Kashi, the begging bowl, skull, fell on the ground, and thus Bhairav got liberated from his sins. Bhairav was extremely relieved. The place where the skull of Brahma had fallen later became known as Kapil Mokan, the most sacred place of pilgrimage. Shiva takes incarnation as Sharab. While describing the incarnation of Sharab, Sudha told the sages, when Vishnu took his incarnation of Nrisimha to kill the demon king Hiranyakashipu, his anger could not be subdued even after the killing of Hiranyakashipu. His anger had frightened all the 3 worlds. Lord Brahma sent Prahlada to Nrisimha so that his anger gets cooled down. Prahlada prayed to Nrisimha. Nrisimha took him in his embrace, but still his anger was not subdued. All the deities went to Lord Shiva and requested him to cool down Vishnu's anger. Lord Shiva then sent Bhairav and Virbhadra to Nrisimha. When Virbhadra politely requested Nrisimha to cool down, he, Nrisimha, tried to pounce on him, Virbhadra. Right then, Lord Shiva appeared in his most devastating form. He was looking frightening in his giant form and with thousands of hands. His appearance was resembling a huge cannibal bird. Lord Shiva injured Nrisimha with his giant wings and, after carrying Lord Vishnu in his giant wings and after carrying Lord Vishnu in his arms, he flew in the sky. Lord Vishnu was so frightened that he became unconscious. After regaining his consciousness, Lord Nrisimha appeared in his form of Lord Vishnu and eulogized Shiva, which made Lord Shiva very pleased. Lord Shiva wore the head of Nrisimha with the garland of the skull on his neck. The remaining body was carried by Virbhadra and abandoned at a mountain. Vishwana receives boon from Shiva. Once upon a time, there used to live a Brahmin named Vishwanar, who was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. Shachimati was his wife, who was a devout wife. Being pleased by her sense of dutifulness, Vishwanar tried to reward his wife. Shachimati expressed her desire to have a son just like Lord Shiva. Vishwanar went to Kashi to please Lord Shiva by his penance. He worshipped Vishveshwar Linga with supreme devotion. Lord Shiva became very pleased by his devotion and appeared before Vishwanar from the Shivalinga. When Vishwanar expressed his desire, Lord Shiva agreed to take birth as his son. Vishwanar came back to his house happily. Shiva's incarnation as Grihapati. In due course of time, Shiv became pregnant and gave birth to a beautiful child. The whole family celebrated the birth of the child. The name-giving ceremony of that child was attended by all the deities and sages, including Lord Shiva and Parvati. Lord Brahma named the child as Grihapati. When Grihapati attained the age of 5, his sacred thread ceremony was performed. Within a year, he became proficient in all the Vedas and other sacred texts. When Grihapati attained the age of 9, Narada came and informed Vishwanar that the death of Grihapati was imminent because of the evil effects of the planetary combinations. Vishwanar and Shiv were saddened and started crying. Grihapati then consoled his parents and proceeded towards Kashi to do penance so that the death could be conquered. Grihapati commenced his penance at Kashi. The deity Indra arrived there and requested him to demand anything he wished, but Grihapati refused. Indra became furious and tried to attack him with his weapon Vajra. Grihapati was very terrified. Right then, Lord Shiva appeared, and Indra had to retreat from the scene. Lord Shiva blessed Grihapati by saying, "What to say about this lightning, Vajra, even Kalvajra would not be able to kill you." Grihapati became very pleased. The Shivalinga which he worshipped later became famous as Agnishwar Linga. Lord Shiva made Grihapati the lord of all the directions. Lord Shiva's incarnation as Yaksheshwar. During the time when the ocean was being churned, first of all, poison appeared from it. The deities were very terrified to see the tremendous heat it generated. They went to Lord Shiva and requested to protect them from the heat of that poison. Lord Shiva drank all the poison but did not let it pass down his throat. After the poison, nectar appeared from the ocean, which was drunk by the deities. The demons too wanted to drink the nectar, so a tremendous battle ensued between them and the deities. The deities became victorious in this battle because they had become immortal due to the effect of the nectar. This victory made the deities very arrogant. Lord Shiva was very concerned about their arrogant nature. He went to them in the guise of a yaksha. He asked what had made them so arrogant. The deities replied that their arrogance stemmed from victory over the demons. Lord Shiva, who was disguised as yaksha, replied, "Your pride is based on false notion because you did not achieve victory due to somebody's grace and blessing." The deities disagreed with him. Lord Shiva then asked them to cut the grass if they considered themselves so mighty. He then kept a grass leaf in front of them. Each of the deities tried to cut that grass with their respective weapons but remained unsuccessful in their attempts. They were all amazed. Suddenly, a heavenly voice was heard which said that the yaksha was none other than Lord Shiva himself. The deities realized their mistakes. They apologized to Lord Shiva. After vanquishing the false pride of the deities, Lord Shiva disappeared. 10 incarnations of Shiva and Shakti. Describing the 10 incarnations and their corresponding power, Shakti, Sutta said, the first incarnation of Lord Shiva was as Mahajat, and his Shakti was called Mahakali. Lord Shiva took his second incarnation as Tar, and his Shakti was called Tara. The third incarnation of Lord Shiva was as Bhuvaneshwar, and his Shakti was called Bhuvaneshwari. Lord Shiva took his fourth incarnation as Shodash, who was also known as Srividish, and his Shakti was called Shodashi or Sri. Lord Shiva took his fifth incarnation as Bhairav, and his Shakti was called Bhairavi. The sixth incarnation of Lord Shiva is famous as Chinamastak, and his Shakti by the name of Chinamasta. Lord Shiva took his seventh incarnation as Dumvan, and his Shakti was known as Dumvadi. The eighth incarnation was as Baglamuk, and his Shakti as Baglamukhi. The ninth incarnation of Lord Shiva became famous as Matang, and his Shakti as Matangi. Lord Shiva took his 10th incarnation as Kamal, and his Shakti as Kamala. If these 10 incarnations of Shiva are worshipped along with his 10 Mahavidyas, then a man attains salvation. The origin of 11 Rudras. Once, the deities went to sage Kashyapa after being tormented by the demons. They complained to him about the misdeeds of the demons, who also happened to be their stepbrothers. Sage Kashyapa became extremely furious when he heard about the misdeeds of his sons, the demons. To protect the deities from his sons, he commenced a penance to please Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva became very pleased by his penance and appeared before him. He asked Kashyapa to demand anything he wished. Kashyapa then requested Lord Shiva to take birth as his son and destroy the demons. Lord Shiva blessed him and said, "So be it." Later on, Lord Shiva took birth as 11 Rudras from the womb of his wife Surabhi. The names of these 11 Rudras were as follows: Manu, 2, Manu, 3, Mahinasa, 4, Mahan, 5, Shiva, 6, Ritusruta, 7, Yugra, 8, Bhava, 9, Kala, 10, Vamadeva, and 11, Dhritarashtra. Rudras fought battles with the demons and killed them. The deities were relieved of the demons. They worshipped these 11 Rudras to express their gratitude. Shiva's incarnation as Durvasa. Regarding Lord Shiva's incarnation as Durvasa, Sutta told the sages, once, Atri and Anusuya, the wife of Atri, were performing severe penance at the bank of the river Navindya, following the instructions of Lord Brahma. The effects of their penance were such that devastating flames of fire manifested, spreading across all 3 worlds. The deities were terrified by the destruction caused by the fire. Seeking help, they went to Lord Brahma, who then directed them to Lord Vishnu. Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu went to Atri and blessed him. Atri recognized them. Later on, Atri's wife Anusuya gave birth to 3 sons, who were the incarnations of Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva. Lord Brahma took the incarnation as Dattatreya, Vishnu as Dat, and Shiva took the incarnation as Durvasa. Durvasa, known for his short temper, tested the religiousness and virtuosity of numerous people. He had also tested the devotion of King Ambarisha, who ruled over Saptadvipa. Once, King Ambarisha had observed a fast on Ekadashi. The next day, when he was about to break his fast, sage Durvasa arrived accompanied by a large number of disciples. Durvasa, in his usual demeanor, became very furious with King Ambarisha. He said, "You have invited me for this particular occasion, but you have also insulted me by breaking the fast in my absence." Durvasa, in his anger, would have burnt King Ambarisha to ashes by his curse, had Sudarshan, the weapon of Lord Vishnu, not come to his rescue. Sudarshan then tried to burn sage Durvasa when suddenly a voice was heard from the sky which said, "Stop. Sudarshan, do not harm Durvasa, he is no one but the incarnation of Lord Shiva himself." Hearing this, Sudarshan's anger subsided. King Ambarisha then begged forgiveness from sage Durvasa. Formation of Hanuman. Lord Shiva was so captivated by the appearance of Lord Vishnu in his form of Mohini Rupa that his semen was released on the ground. This semen was established by the Saptarishis in the womb of Anjani, with the permission of Lord Shiva himself. In this way, the mighty Hanuman was born. During his childhood, Hanuman had swallowed the sun, which he released only after the deities prayed to him. The sun accepted him as his disciple and made him proficient in all learning. He started living with Sugriva as per the instructions of his teacher, the sun. During the time of Sri Rama's exile, Sugriva developed a friendship with him with the help of Hanuman. Hanuman helped Sri Rama in finding the whereabouts of Sita, who had been abducted by the demon king Ravana. He took a giant leap and jumped across the ocean, reaching Ashokvathika, where Ravana had kept Sita. He gave Sri Rama's ring to her and consoled her by saying that very soon Sri Rama was going to arrive and release her from Ravana's captivity. He also burnt the whole of Lanka with his burning tail and returned to Sri Rama to give him Sita's news. While the battle was fought between Sri Rama and Ravana, Lakshmana got seriously injured and became unconscious. Hanuman saved his life by bringing the whole mountain, upon which the herb Sanjeevani grew. Being present in the service of Sri Rama, Hanuman performed his duties marvelously. Worship of Hanuman helps a man to become free from all kinds of problems, diseases, and hurdles, etc. Shiva's incarnation as Mahesh. Once, Bhairav, who was entrusted with the job of a doorkeeper, became so infatuated with Parvati's beauty that he tried to prevent her from going outside. Parvati became furious and cursed him to be born as a mortal man on the earth. Bhairav became very sad, but the damage had already been done. Bhairav later appeared in the form of a man named Vedal. Vedal prayed to Lord Shiva, who took his incarnation as Mahesh, and goddess Parvati as Girija. Lord Vishnu creates turbulences. After the churning of the ocean had been accomplished, numerous things had emerged from the ocean, including jewels, moon, Lakshmi, poison, Achakaishrava horse, Aravat elephant, and the vessel containing nectar. A tremendous battle was fought between the deities and the demons to have control over the vessel containing nectar. The demons had snatched that vessel from the deities. By the divine inspiration of Lord Shiva, Vishnu appeared in the form of Mohini, the enchanting beauty. He successfully recovered that vessel from the control of the demons. To distract the attention of the demons from the nectar, Lord Vishnu created numerous enchanting beauties. When the demons saw them, they forcibly carried these enchanting beauties to their abode, the netherworld. After that, they again returned to take control of the nectar. By that time, Vishnu had made the deities drink all the nectar. When the demons came to know about this, they became very furious and attacked the deities. A tremendous battle ensued between both sides, and ultimately, the demons were defeated. To save their lives, the demons ran towards their abode. Lord Vishnu chased the demons and entered the Netherland. He killed all the demons. Lord Vishnu then saw those enchanting beauties who had been abducted by the demons. Ironically, Lord Vishnu got infatuated by their beauty, who were his creations. Lord Vishnu remained there for a long time. Shiva's incarnation as Vrishab. During his stay in the Netherland, many sons were born to Lord Vishnu, who were very wicked and cruel. These sons of Lord Vishnu started tormenting the inhabitants of all three worlds. All the deities and the sages went to Lord Shiva to seek his help. They requested him to kill the cruel sons of Vishnu and re-establish him, Lord Vishnu, in his own abode, which he had abandoned for the netherworld. Lord Shiva went to the netherworld in the form of an ox, Vrishab. He killed all the sons of Lord Vishnu with his sharp horns. Seeing the death of his sons, Lord Vishnu came forward to fight him. He attacked Lord Shiva with his various weapons, but Lord Shiva remained unharmed. Ultimately, Lord Vishnu recognized him. He eulogized Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva then requested him to return back to Vishnuloka. He accepted. Lord Vishnu left his Sudarshan chakra in the netherworld and went to his own abode, where Lord Shiva presented him with a new Sudarshan chakra. Killing of Vritrasur. Once, when the deities were defeated by Vritrasur, they went to Lord Brahma after hiding their weapons in the hermitage of sage Dadichi. They requested Lord Brahma to reveal the means of how Vritrasur could be killed. Lord Brahma advised the deities to make a weapon named Vajra from the bones of sage Dadichi, as Dadichi's bones were even harder than the Vajra of Indra by the blessings of Lord Shiva. All the deities then went to the hermitage of Dadichi under the leadership of Brihaspati. On being inquired about the purpose of their visit, Indra said that he wanted his bones so that a weapon could be made out of it. Dadichi gave up his life by his yogic power. Indra then instructed Kandanu to extract the bones from the dead body of Dadichi. The bones were given to Twashta to construct the weapon Vajra. Twashta took the weapons to Vishwakarma, who finally constructed the Vajra. Indra killed Vritrasur with this weapon. When Savracha, the wife of Dadichi, came to know about the cunning deeds of the deities, she cursed them to become animals. Shiva's incarnation as Yadanath. There used to live a Beel named Ahuk of the Arbutical mountain. His wife was Ahuka. Both of them were supreme devotees of Lord Shiva. Once, Lord Shiva, wanting to test their devotion, appeared before them disguised as a hermit. Ahuk honored his guest and treated him very well. Lord Shiva then requested him to give shelter for the whole night. Ahuk expressed his inability as he had a very small hut, in which only 2 people could be accommodated at a time. But his wife intervened and requested Ahuk to sleep outside the hut with his arms, as it would be inappropriate on their part to miss this chance of proving their hospitality. The hermit, who, in reality, was Lord Shiva, slept with Ahuk's wife inside the hut, while Ahuk himself slept outside the hut. Unfortunately, Ahuk was killed by a wild animal while he was asleep. In the morning, when Lord Shiva found that Ahuk had died, his heart was filled with grief. But Ahuka consoled him by saying that she was proud of her husband as he had given up his life for a noble cause. Naturally, she was very much saddened by her husband's death, so she decided to give up her life by jumping into the burning pyre. Right then, Lord Shiva appeared in his real form and blessed her by saying, in his next birth, your husband would take birth in a royal family. He would become famous as Nala, and you would be born as the Mayanthi to King Bhima of Vidarbha. I would myself appear in the form of a swan and help both of you to unite. After enjoying all the pleasures of this world, both of you would attain to my abode. After saying thus, Lord Shiva established himself as the immovable Shivalinga, which later on became famous as Achaleshwar-linga. Shiva's incarnation as Krishna Darshan. King Nabhag was born in the 9th genealogy of Shraddhadeva, who himself was a descendant of Ikshvaku. Nabhag was the grandfather of Ambarish. During his childhood, Nabhag left his home for Gurukula to get an education. In his absence, his brothers got the wealth of the kingdom distributed among themselves. When Nabhag returned home after the completion of his education, he demanded his share of wealth from his brothers. His brothers told him that they had forgotten to fix his share as he was absent at the time when wealth was being distributed. They advised him to go and meet their father. Nabhag went to his father and made the same request. His father advised him to go to sage Angiras, who was trying to accomplish a yajna but was not being able to accomplish it because of his attachment. Go and try to eliminate his attachment by your discourses. This way, sage Angiras, on being pleased with you, would give all the wealth which remains after the completion of the yajna, said his father. Nabhag did the same. He went to the place where sage Angiras was performing his yajna. He preached sage Angiras on the virtues of religiousness. As a result, he became free from all sorts of attachments, and the yajna was successfully accomplished. Sage Angiras was very pleased by Nabhag's knowledge of religion. He gave all the remaining wealth of the yajna to Nabhag. Just then, Lord Shiva arrived there in his incarnation of Krishna Darshan and tried to prevent sage Angiras from donating the wealth to Nabhag. Instead, he staked his own claim. Nabhag told Lord Shiva that since the wealth was given to him by sage Angiras himself, it naturally belonged to him. Lord Shiva then sent Nabhag to his father Shraddhadev to know about his opinion. Nabhag went to Shraddhadev, who revealed to him that the person who was staking his claims on the wealth was none other than Lord Shiva. He also told him that whatever remained after the accomplishment of the yajna belonged to Lord Shiva only. Nabhag was now satisfied. He went back to Lord Shiva and narrated everything that his father had said. He then eulogized and worshipped Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva blessed him, which helped Nabhag to attain salvation. Lord Shiva appears as a beggar. There was a king named Satyarath who ruled over Vidarbha. Once, he was attacked by a neighboring king. Satyarath was killed in that battle. His wife somehow managed to save her life by hiding in a forest. The queen was pregnant at that time. At the shore of a pond, she gave birth to a child. She was feeling thirsty, so she went into the pond to quench her thirst. Unfortunately, she was killed by a crocodile who used to live in that pond. The hungry child started crying. A beggar woman arrived there with her 1-year-old child. Though her heart was filled with compassion seeing the hungry child cry, she was still hesitating to take him in her lap. Right then, Lord Shiva appeared as a beggar and advised her to bring up the orphan child. The beggar woman asked about the origin of the child. Lord Shiva told her that the father of this child, Satyarath in his previous life, had left the Pratoshavrata incomplete. He had also ordered his men to sever the head of his enemy. After this, he had broken his fast in his impure state, without taking a bath. As a result, Satyarath met a premature death in his next life. The mother of this orphan child too committed a sin by deceitfully getting the co-wife of her husband killed. As a result, she was devoured by a crocodile in her next life. Describing the child, Lord Shiva said, "This child was a Brahmin by birth in his previous life, but still, he never engaged himself in any religious or virtuous deeds. So in his next life, though he was born in a royal family, still he remained poor. You must take this child under your control, and after his sacred thread ceremony gets accomplished, you must engage him in my, Shiva's, devotion. If you don't obey my command, then it would not be good for the welfare of your own child." After saying like this, Lord Shiva disappeared. The beggar woman took the child to her house and brought him up with great love and care. When he grew up, his sacred thread ceremony was performed, and then he was initiated into the worship of Lord Shiva. By the blessing of Lord Shiva, Satyaratha's son found a pot full of gold while he was taking a bath in a pond. Now the beggar family became very rich. Once again, when he had gone to a forest, he met a Gandharv princess to whom he ultimately got married. This way he became a king. He lived happily with his mother and his brother. Lord Shiva appears in the guise of Indra, Sureshvar. Upmanyu, the son of sage Vyagrapad, was brought up in his maternal uncle's home since his childhood. One day Upmanyu was very hungry. His mother gave him milk to drink, which was not enough to satisfy his hunger. He demanded more and started crying. His mother mined some wheat flour in the water and gave him to drink as there was no milk left in the house. Upmanyu, finding the taste different, told his mother that it was not milk but something else. He again started crying. His mother told him that if he wanted milk, then he should worship Lord Shiva as he only was capable of making the milk available. Upmanyu proceeded towards the Himalaya and started doing penance to please Lord Shiva, continuously chanting the mantra Om Namah Shivaya. His penance generated so much heat that all the three worlds started burning. To test his devotion, Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati appeared before him disguised as Indra and Indrani, respectively. Both of them told Upmanyu to stop doing penance. They said, "We, Indra and Indrani, are extremely pleased by your devotion. Stop worshipping Shiva. We will fulfill all your desires." Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati did not stop at this. They even cursed Shiva. Upmanyu became very furious and got up to attack the abuser Indra. Shiva and Parvati were satisfied by his total dedication and devotion. They revealed their real identity and blessed him. Shiva promised Upmanyu that he would be present in the vicinity of his hermitage along with Parvati forever. Upmanyu returned back to his home and narrated the whole story to his mother, who was very pleased. Lord Shiva got the name Sureshvar because he appeared in the guise of Indra. Sage Vyasa advises the Pandavas to worship Shiva. After losing their whole kingdom to Duryodhana in the gamble, Pandavas went to the Dwait forest accompanied by Drupadi. They started living in a place donated by Valotra's son. Duryodhana instigated Sage Durvasa to torment the Pandavas. Sage Durvasa went to the place where Pandavas were staying, accompanied by thousands of his disciples. He demanded food from the Pandavas. How could the Pandavas satiate the hunger of thousands of people? Lord Krishna came to their rescue and saved them from being disgraced. As a result, Durvasa and his disciples went back satisfied. Lord Krishna advised the Pandavas to worship Lord Shiva, but they neglected that advice. As a result, their sufferings increased in magnitude. One day Sage Vyasa arrived there. The Pandavas gave a rousing reception. Considering Arjuna to be the most capable among the Pandavas, Vyasa taught him the method of doing Parthiva worship. Later on, Arjuna went to the Indrakil mountain to please Indra by his penance. Sage Vyasa preached Yudhishthira to remain firm in his virtuousness and religiousness. Arjuna's penance generated so much heat that all the living creatures of the three worlds were unable to bear its scorching heat. All the living creatures of the three worlds went to Indra to seek his help. Indra went to Arjuna in the guise of a celibate and asked about the purpose for which he was doing penance. Arjuna told him that he wanted to defeat the Kauravas. Indra then told Arjuna that it was not in his capacity to help him achieve victory over the Kauravas because of Aswathama, who was a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva. Indra advised Arjuna to please Lord Shiva by his penance so that his wishes could be fulfilled. Indra then entrusted some of his men the job of Arjuna's security, and went back to his abode. Arjuna commenced his penance to please Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva appears in guise of Kirat and blesses Arjuna. Arjuna did a tremendous penance by standing only on one leg and concentrating his gaze upon the blazing sun. The deities became very impressed by Arjuna's penance. They went to Lord Shiva and requested him to bless Arjuna. Lord Shiva accepted their request. Duryodhana had sent a demon named Mukha to kill Arjuna. Mukha had disguised himself as a boar. Arjuna was engrossed in his meditation when suddenly his concentration got disturbed by a loud noise. He opened his eyes and saw Mukha being chased by a band of Kirats. In fact, it was none other than Shiva who had appeared in the guise of Kirat. Both Arjuna and Lord Shiva struck the boar with their respective arrows at the same time. As a result, the boar was killed. Lord Shiva sent his Ganesh to bring back the arrow. Similarly, Arjuna too went near the dead boar to bring his arrow. Arjuna found his arrow lying on the ground. He picked it up in his hand. Right then, the Ganesh arrived there and asked Arjuna to return that arrow as it belonged to their master, Shiva. But Arjuna refused to part with his arrow. Instead, he asked the Ganesh to convey his challenge to their master to have a duel with him. The Ganesh went back to Lord Shiva and narrated the whole story to him. Lord Shiva accepted Arjuna's challenge and went to fight him. His Ganesh accompanied him. Arjuna defeated all the Ganesh of Shiva. In the end, Lord Shiva came forward to have a duel fight with him. Shiva was very much impressed by his valor. He revealed his real identity. Arjuna was very ashamed that he fought with Shiva. Lord Shiva consoled him and gave his weapon Pashupat to Arjuna. The 12 Jyotirlingas. Describing the 12 Jyotirlingas, Sutta told the sages there are 12 Jyotirlingas, which are as follows. Somnath in Saurashtra, Mallikarjuna in Sri Shail, Mahajit in Ujjain, Amarishwar in Omkar, Kedar in the Himalaya, Bhima Shankar at the bank of Bhima River, Vishwanath in Varanasi, Trayambakeshwar at the bank of Gautami River, Badryanath at Chittabhumi, Nagesh, which is between Dwarukvan Dwarika and Bet Dwarika, Rameshwar at Betiband, and Dashmesh in Shivalaya. These 12 Jyotirlingas are considered very sacred. A devotee who pays a visit to any of these places and worships gets all of his wishes fulfilled. Out of these 12 Jyotirlingas, Somnath Jyotirlinga is believed to destroy the sorrows of the moon. A devotee who worships this Jyotirlinga gets cured from incurable diseases like leprosy, etc., enjoys all kinds of worldly pleasures, and attains salvation. Similarly, having a darshan of Mallikarjuna helps a devotee to fulfill all of his desires. Having a darshan of Mahajit at Ujjain helps a devotee to fulfill all kinds of desires and achieve salvation. Similarly, if a devotee merely touches the idol of Omkar Linga, then he achieves the desired fruits. Kedar Linga is situated in the Himalayas and is considered to be very sacred. Lord Shiva took his 6th incarnation as Bhima Shankar to kill the demon Bhima. This incarnation of Shiva took place at a place called Kamarupa in Assam. The 7th incarnation of Lord Shiva was as Vishwanath at Kashi. This Jyotirlinga is considered to be very sacred and a fulfiller of all the desires of a man. Lord Shiva took his 8th incarnation at the bank of river Gautami at the request of sage Gautam. This Jyotirlinga too is considered very sacred and a fulfiller of all the desires of a man. The 9th incarnation of Shiva was as Badryanath at Deoghar in Bihar. This Jyotirlinga was established by the demon king Ravana. A devotee who worships this Jyotirlinga gets all of his wishes fulfilled. Because of this, it is also known as Kamanalinga. Devotees carry the holy water of the Ganges from Sultanganj and both the idol of Badryanath in the months of Shravan and Bhadrapaksh according to the Hindu calendar. Lord Shiva took his 10th incarnation to kill the demon Darak who used to live in Darak forest. A devotee who worships Nagesh never faces any calamity. The 11th incarnation of Lord Shiva was as Rameshwar Linga. This linga was established by Sri Rama while the construction of a bridge over the sea was going on. Having a darshan of this Jyotirlinga bestows both worldly pleasures and salvation. Lord Shiva took his 12th incarnation as Dumshwar after being pleased by Dushma, the wife of Sumetha. Having a darshan of this Jyotirlinga helps a devotee to fulfill all of his desires. All the above-mentioned 12 Jyotirlingas are very sacred and give total accomplishment to the devotees. Part 4, Koti Rudra Samhita. The greatness of Upalingas. After describing the 12 Jyotirlingas, Sutta mentioned the various Upalingas originating from them. The Upalinga named Samshwar is situated at a place where the earth meets the ocean and is also known as Antakesh. The Upalinga originating from Mallikarjuna is famous by the name of Rudrashwar. Similarly, the Upalinga originating from Mahajit Jyotirlinga is known as Dufdesh, and the one from Omkar Jyotirlinga is famous as Kardameshwar. The Upalinga from Kedareshwar Jyotirlinga is known as Bhuteshwar and is situated at the bank of the Yamuna River. The Upalinga manifesting from Bhima Shankar Jyotirlinga is famously known as Bhimeshwar. The Upalingas manifesting from Nadeshwar, Rameshwar, and Dashmeshwar Jyotirlingas are known as Bhuteshwar, Gupteshwar, and Vyagreshwar, respectively. All these Upalingas are considered very sacred, and a devotee who has darshan of these Upalingas gets liberated from all of his sins. Apart from these 12 Jyotirlingas and Upalingas, numerous other lingas hold great religious importance. Some of them include Kritikavaseshwar, Tilmandeshwar, Bhuteshwar, Batukshwar, Pureshwar, Siddhanateshwar, Sringeshwar, Gopeshwar, Rangeshwar, Rameshwar, Atrishwar, Mahabal Linga, Kameshwar, Gaineshwar, Shukrashwar, Chandrasekhar, Rishishwar, Laliteshwar, Pashupateshwar, Pashupathinath, Kumtanath, and Andhakeshwar, etc. Atri and Anusuya do penance. Sage Atri and his wife Anusuya were doing penance in the forest called Kamad, situated near the Chitrakoot mountain. Once, when there was a severe drought, Anusuya requested her husband to help the people. Sage Atri meditated, and despite his disciples deserting him, Anusuya remained, worshipping Parthiva lingas and circumambulating Sage Atri. The deities were pleased with their penance and granted blessings. Lord Shiva and river Ganges stayed with them. After 54 years of drought, Atri, with Anusuya's help, quenched his thirst, and Ganges flowed from the pit Anusuya had dug. Atrishwar Linga was worshipped there. The Brahmin woman attains to heaven. In Karni, a Brahmin left his wife with his sons, went to Kashi, and died. His sons performed the last rites, and later, the Brahmin's wife died too. Suvas, carrying her ashes, met a Brahmin, witnessed events, and learned that immersing ashes in Nirmada on the auspicious day brings divine blessings. Ganga advised Anusuya about water, and after donating virtues, Shiva appeared, stayed in their hermitage, and, after a grand yagya, ended the drought. Mandakani flows from the pit Anusuya dug, and the worshipped Shivalinga became Atrishwar Linga. Mahabal Shivalinga. Describing Mahabal Shivalinga, Sutta shared with the sages, situated in the Gokarna area, Mahabal Shivalinga holds immense significance. A devotee witnessing Mahabal Shivalinga on the 8th or 14th day of Ardra Nakshatra falling on a Monday is liberated from all sins, attaining Shivaloka. Darshan on any other day also leads one to the abode of the Almighty. The Mahabal temple is guarded by deities, ancestors, holy rivers like Ganga, and Nagas at all 4 entrances. Even the gravest sinner finds salvation by worshipping Mahabal Shivalinga on the 14th day of Magha, dark lunar phase, attracting people from all over India for the grand festival. The reason behind phallic worship. Sages inquired about Parvati's decision to appear in the form of a vagina. Sutta narrated the tale. Long ago, sages in a Shiva temple near Derek forest were tested by Lord Shiva. When they went to collect woods, Shiva appeared before their wives in a naked position. Frightened, the wives cursed Shiva to become a phallus. The intense heat generated led the sages to seek Brahma's help. Brahma revealed that the cursed Shiva could only be appeased by Parvati in the form of vagina, resulting in the worship of Hatkeshwar Jyotirlinga. The origin of Batuknath. Dudhichi, a Brahmin, entrusted Shiva's worship to his learned son Sudarshan. Despite Sudarshan's unintentional lapse during worship, Lord Shiva, pleased by penance, blessed him to be known as Batuknath. Worshipping Batuknath is considered equivalent to worshipping Lord Shiva. The origin of Somnath. Moon's arrogance led to a curse from Daksha, causing weakness. Seeking liberation, Moon chanted the Mahamrityunjaya mantra in Prabhas area. Lord Shiva blessed Moon, establishing himself as Somanath, and a Kunda named Chandrakunda became a symbol of Moon's liberation. The origin of Mallikarjuna. Sage Narada's influence led Kartikeya to penance on Kranch mountain. Unable to bear the separation, Shiva manifested as Mallikarjuna Jyotirlinga. The origin of Mahakaleshwar. A devoted Brahmin's family faced the demon Dushan's wrath. Shiva emerged from the earth, eliminating the demons, and granted the Brahmin's request to stay. Mahajit Jyotirlinga symbolizes this divine intervention. The origin of Omkareshwar. Vindhya's arrogance subdued after Narada's comparison to Sumera mountain. Amgreshwar's worship pleased Shiva, leading to the establishment of Omkareshwar. The origin of Kedarshwar. Nara and Narayana's penance at Bhadrakesharama led to Shiva's subtle form worship. Shiva established as Kedareshwar Jyotirlinga upon their request. The origin of Bhima Shankar. Bhima, seeking revenge for his father's death, did penance to please Lord Brahma. Shiva intervened, and a fierce battle ensued, resulting in Bhima Shankar Jyotirlinga's establishment. The origin of Vishveshwar. In Kashi, Siddharma's devotion led to Lord Shiva manifesting as Vishveshwar Jyotirlinga, bringing salvation to the city. The Kashi Vishwanath temple stands as a testament to this divine connection. These stories depict the profound significance of each Jyotirlinga and the divine interventions in response to sincere devotion. The origin of Vishveshwar. With the desire of giving liberation to the living creatures of this world, Lord Shiva had kept some portion of land on his Trishul after separating it from the rest of Brahma's creation. The name of this sacred place is Manikarnika. The Shivalinga by the name of Avanukta was established by Lord Shiva himself. Later on, this sacred place was brought down from the Trishul and established on the land of Shiva. This pilgrimage site became famous as Kashi, and the Shivalinga as Avamukta Visheshwar. The origin of Trayambakeshwar. During ancient times, there lived a famous sage named Gautami, and his wife was Ahilya. Once, it did not rain for 100 years, resulting in a severe drought. Sage Gautami did a tremendous penance to please Varuna, the god of rain. When Varuna appeared, he expressed his inability to bring rain and advised Gautami to please Lord Shiva. Varuna instructed Gautami to dig a pit, which he filled with water, and blessed Gautami that the pond would never dry up. The sages who had left the area due to drought returned, and everyone became happy. One day, sage Gautam's disciples faced opposition from the wives of other sages when trying to fetch water. Ahilya, sage Gautam's wife, took up the task and went daily to fetch water. The wives of other sages tried to stop her, leading to conflicts. The sages became angry and sought Ganesha's help to drive Gautam away. Ganesha, disguised as a cow, entered Gautam's field and started grazing barley crops. Gautam, unaware of the disguise, tried to drive the cow away and accidentally caused its death. The sages forced Gautam to leave the place. Gautam, seeking atonement, was advised by the sages to circumambulate the earth thrice, confessing his sin, and then perform austerities for a month. Alternatively, he could help manifest the Ganga river and take a bath in its waters or worship 3 crore Parthiva lingas. Gautam chose to worship the Parthiva lingas, and Lord Shiva, pleased with his devotion, appeared before him. Gautam requested liberation from the sin of killing a cow and the manifestation of the Ganga river. Lord Shiva instructed Ganga to appear, and Gautam was liberated from his sins. Ganga, on the condition that Lord Shiva and Parvati would remain on earth, agreed to stay until the 28th Nanvantar. Lord Shiva established himself as Trayambakeshwar Jyotirlinga, and Ganga became known as Gautami Ganga. The origin of Badrinath. The demon king Ravana performed a tremendous penance to please Lord Shiva and obtain a boon. Despite severing 9 of his heads in devotion, Lord Shiva appeared only when Ravana was about to sever his last head. Blessed with immense power and strength, Ravana was restored to his 10-headed form. Unsatisfied, Ravana requested Lord Shiva to accompany him to Lanka. Lord Shiva gave him a Shivalinga, warning against placing it on the earth. During Ravana's journey, he entrusted the Shivalinga to a cowherd boy but, unable to bear its weight, the boy placed it on the ground. Unable to lift it again, Ravana established the Shivalinga as Badrinath Jyotirlinga. The origin of Nadeshwar Jyotirlinga. In ancient times, the demon Derek and his wife Daruka tormented the people in their region. Seeking sage Orsha's help, the deities battled the demons, but Daruka, with a boon from goddess Parvati, moved the entire forest to the sea. Later, the demons captured people on boats. Supriya, a devoted man, inspired everyone to worship Lord Shiva. After 6 months, Lord Shiva defeated the demons, and Nadeshwar Jyotirlinga was established. Establishment of Rameshwar. While proceeding towards Lanka to rescue Sita, Sri Rama faced the challenge of crossing the sea. He crafted a Parthiva linga of Shiva, worshipped it, and sought Lord Shiva's blessing. In return, Sri Rama requested Lord Shiva to reside in the Parthiva linga, giving rise to Rameshwar Jyotirlinga. The origin of Dashmesh Jyotirlinga. Siddharma, a Brahmin, and his wife Sudeha were childless. Sudeha, desperate for a son, insisted Siddharma marry her sister Dashma. Dashma, a devoted wife, worshipped Parthiva lingas daily, leading to the birth of a son. However, Sudeha, consumed by jealousy, killed Dashma's son. Through Lord Shiva's grace, Dashma's son was resurrected, and Lord Shiva established Dashmeshwar Jyotirlinga. Lord Vishnu received Sudarshan Chakra. To annihilate demons tormenting the deities, Lord Vishnu performed intense penance, chanting Shiva Sahasranamavali. Lord Shiva, testing Vishnu's devotion, stole a lotus flower, prompting Vishnu to offer his eye. Impressed, Lord Shiva granted him the Sudarshan Chakra and established himself as Harishwar Shivalinga. Lord Vishnu used the Sudarshan Chakra to defeat the demons. These sacred tales highlight the significance of devotion, penance, and the divine manifestations of Lord Shiva in various forms. The devotees of Shiva. Describing the numerous devotees of Shiva famous for their unwavering devotion, Sutta mentioned names such as Durvasa, Vishvamitra, Dadichi, Gautam, Kanad, Bhargav, Brihaspati, Vaishampayam, Parashar, Vyasa, Upmanyu, Yagyavalkya, Jaimini, and Garg. He also shared a tale about King Satyamna, who, upon entering the forest gifted to Parvati by Shiva, was transformed into a woman. Through devoted worship, Shiva blessed him to alternate between genders every month. Austerities and Mahashivaratri for Shiva's worship. Lord Shiva explained 10 austerities connected with his worship, emphasizing the significance of Mahashivaratri. Devotees were advised to observe monthly fasts, with specific instructions for Kalashtami and the 11th day of both lunar phases. Mahashivaratri, falling on the 14th day of the dark lunar month of Falgun, involved a day and night fast, worship with 16 modes, chanting mantras, abhishek, and offerings. Completing this fast for 14 years consecutively, followed by the Udyapan ceremony, led devotees to Shivaloka. The greatness of Shivaratri. In the story of Gurudruva, a poor Beel, his unintentional observance of Shivaratri fast led to a divine encounter. While waiting for prey in a bael tree, leaves and water drops fell on a Shivalinga beneath. Gurudruva, unaware, worshipped Shiva during each prahara of the night. The deer he intended to hunt, moved by his compassion, granted him enlightenment. Lord Shiva appeared, blessed Gurudruva with the future role of serving Sri Rama as Nishad, and assured salvation through Sri Rama's blessings. Sutta emphasized the profound virtues of intentionally observing Shivaratri fast, promising both worldly pleasures and salvation. Different stages of liberation. Regarding the different stages of liberation, Sutta told the sages that there were 5 stages of liberation capable of freeing a man from the sorrows of this world. Sarupya, similitude with the Almighty. Salokya. Sanidhya, living in the proximity of the Almighty. Sayujya, getting united with the Almighty. Kalvalya, devotion towards God. Only Lord Shiva is capable of bestowing liberation. One can attain them, virtuosity, artha, wealth, and kam, desires and wishes, by the worship of other deities, but Lord Shiva bestows all the 4 of them. Lord Brahma is believed to be the master of the 3 elementary qualities, i.e. sattva, rajas, and tamas. Shiva is beyond these qualities and even the nature itself. He is formless. Lord Shiva is a mystery which remains unsolved even though many sages and even Lord Brahma have tried to solve this mystery called Shiva. The 5th stage of liberation is called Kavalya, which is attained by having complete devotion towards Lord Shiva. In the present era of Kali, where the attainment of self-knowledge is very difficult, devotion is relatively an easier path. Even devotion has been categorized into 2 types. A. Sagan, with form. B. Nirguna, formless. If man worships Lord Shiva with total devotion, he attains self-knowledge. Each and every object of this world is nothing but the manifestation of Shiva's power. The creation achieves expansion only when he desires. Shiva is omniscient but himself invisible. Just as the fire, which already exists in the wood but is visible only after it is rubbed, similarly only the Jnanis can experience Lord Shiva even though he is omnipresent. Just as there is no difference between cause and effect, but it appears so due to our ignorance, similarly an ignorant man can never experience the omnipresent Shiva by his sense organs. The living things possess ego but Lord Shiva is egoless. A man can successfully subjugate his ego by becoming knowledgeable and attains liberation after uniting with Lord Shiva. This knowledge was received by Lord Vishnu from Shiva. Lord Vishnu later on revealed it to Lord Brahma, and Brahma in turn revealed it to his Manasputra, Sanak, etc. The Manasputra revealed this knowledge to Narada, and Narada revealed it to Vyasa. Part 5 Uma Samhita Conversation between Krishna and Upmanyu. Once, Lord Krishna went to Kailash mountain to do penance with the desire of having a son. He found Maharishi Upmanyu engrossed in his meditation. He told Upmanyu about his desire and requested him to describe the greatness of Lord Shiva. Upmanyu described his own experience when he had divine glimpses of Lord Shiva who was meditating. Once I saw Shiva who was surrounded by all the deities. Lord Shiva was engrossed in his deep meditation. Shiva had in his possession all the divine weapons like trident, axe, noose, sudarshan, etc. Lord Vishnu and Brahma were also present there. I eulogized Lord Shiva who became pleased with me. Lord Shiva wanted to bless me with a boon. I requested Lord Shiva to bless me with 3 things. I should always remain his devotee. To be able to know about the past, present and future events. My family should never feel the scarcity of rice and milk. Lord Shiva not only blessed me with all these 3 things, but also to be able to see the Vivasvat Kalpa. After completing his story, Sage Upmanyu told Krishna he must worship Lord Shiva if he was desirous of a son because Lord Shiva can be pleased quite easily. Sri Krishna does penance. Sri Krishna then proceeded to do his penance after getting initiated by Upmanyu with the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya. He did a tremendous penance for 15 months by standing on his toe. In the 16th month Lord Shiva and Parvati appeared before him after being pleased by his penance. Lord Shiva expressed his desire to bless Krishna. Krishna demanded 8 boons. May his intelligence always remain inclined towards religiousness. May he attain immortal fame. May he has his abode in Shiva's proximity. May his faith and devotion in Shiva be unswerving. May he have 10 valiant sons. May he be victorious against his enemies. May all his enemies be destroyed. May be dear to all the yogis. After receiving 8 boons from Lord Shiva, Krishna demanded 1 boon from Goddess Parvati. May he always be in the service of his parents and the Brahmins. Sri Krishna then went back to Upmanyu and narrated the whole story. At last he returned to Dvarka. Classification of grave sins. Describing about the sins, Sutta told the sages that altogether there were 12 types of sins committed by a man by his actions, thought, and speech. Out of them, having a desire for another person's wife, being desirous of another's wealth, having evil designs against other people and drifting towards sinful path are considered to be sins committed by one's thoughts. The following sins are supposed to be committed by speech: conversating with a woman who is having periods, telling lies, unpleasing talks, and backbiting. The following sins are committed by one's actions: eating things which are not worth eating, indulging in violence and uncivilized activities, and taking others' wealth by improper means. Even among all these sins, some are considered to be graver, like criticizing teacher, hermit, and parents etc., stealing the property of the temple or a Brahmin. A person commits Mahapap, grave sin, if he indulges in any of the following: not having devotion towards one's preceptor, abandoning one's preceptor, sleeping on the preceptor's bed, drinking intoxicating drinks, having illicit relationship with one's teacher's wife, taking back the wealth which has already been donated, earning wealth by employing improper means. A man who commits the following sins is considered to be the grave sinners: burning a cowshed, a forest or a city, not marrying a girl with a suitable man, having illicit relationship with a daughter-in-law and sister-in-law. The description of hell. Each living being has to taste the fruits of his karmas when his soul reaches the abode of Yama after his death. The soul of a virtuous man enters hell from the northern side, whereas that of a sinful man enters from the southern side. Yamanagri, the abode of Yama, is situated at a distance of 86,000 yojans, on yojans, 8 miles, from the surface of the earth. The virtuous soul reaches there without any problem because of his virtuous deeds. On the contrary, the soul of a sinner reaches Yamanagri tasting the fruits of his sins all along the way. Moreover, when the soul of a sinner reaches Yamanagri, it gets punished by the Yamadutas. The Lord of Death then gives the final judgment on the basis of each individual's sins. From hell, the virtuous soul leaves for heaven. There are many categories of hells, all filled up with filth. Charity and its importance. Sutta, while warning the sages, told, people who engage themselves in virtuous deeds throughout their lives and who have been kind to others, cross the terrifying path of hell quite easily. A person who donates shoes or wooden sandals to Brahmins reaches hell riding on the horse. Similarly, a person who donates an umbrella to Brahmins reaches hell under the shade of an umbrella. Making donations of a bed or chairs to Brahmins helps a man to reach hell after taking adequate rest on the way. Making donations of gold or silver to Brahmin helps a man to attain to heaven. A man who donates food grains enjoys all the pleasures of life because food grains sustain life. Even making a donation of water is considered to be of supreme value because life cannot exist without it. A man who digs up wells and ponds for the benefit of people acquires great virtues. Planting trees, especially those that give fruits or flowers, are considered to give immeasurable virtues. Making donations of cow, land, knowledge, and such objects that can be weighed are considered. Making donations of gold, sesame, elephant, girl, maid, servant, house, chariot, diamond, a cow whose color is pure white, and food grains are considered to be Mahadan, great donation. The donation should be made only to worthy Brahmins. Description of netherworld and liberation from hell. The earth is balanced on the hood of Sheshnag. Lord Vishnu is the nurturer of this world. There are 7 more worlds beneath the earth, which are Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Tala, Talatala, and Padal. Each of these worlds is 10,000 yojans in length and 20,000 yojans deep. All these worlds are full of invaluable and priceless diamonds. The residents of each of these worlds enjoy all the luxuries and pleasures of life. The demons and the Nagas reside in these worlds. Even farther than these 7 worlds is situated the hell, where the soul of the sinner goes after death. Some of the main names of hell are Rorav, Shakar, Rod, Tal, Vivasan, and Mahajvala etc. The soul of a sinner goes to each of these hells according to the magnitude of his sins. A man should worship Lord Shiva and sing hymns in his praise to get liberated from his sins. Uma warns the deities. Once, after having defeated the demons, the deities had become very arrogant and proud. They started indulging in self-praise. Suddenly, they were startled by the emergence of radiant light before them. All the deities became scared and went to Indra. Indra sent Vayu to test the power of that radiant light. As soon as Vayu reached there, he found that he had become powerless. One by one, all the deities came but returned after being defeated. At last, Indra himself went there. As soon as Indra reached there, he found that he had become bereft of all his powers. Suddenly, Goddess Uma manifested herself and warned Indra against becoming arrogant. Indra realized his mistake. The incarnation of Shakambhari. The most valiant demon Durgam had acquired all the 4 Vedas from Lord Brahma after pleasing him. Lord Brahma had also given a boon of invincibility to him. Durgam became very arrogant and started tormenting the whole world. As a consequence, it did not rain for 100 years, and the whole world was hit by drought. The deities went to Goddess Maheshwari, Parvati, and narrated their woeful tales. Goddess Maheshwari was so moved by their plights that tears rolled down from her eyes for 9 continuous days and nights. The tear took the form of a river, as a result of which the phase of drought came to an end. The deities then requested her to recover the Vedas, which were in the possession of Durgam. They then went back to their abode. When Durgam saw that people were living happily, he attacked with a large army. At that very moment, Goddess manifested herself and fought a tremendous battle with Durgam. From her body manifested the 10 Mahavidyas and many other goddesses. At last, Goddess Maheshwari killed Durgam with her trident and recovered the Vedas from his possession. She then handed over the Vedas to the deities. Maheshwari is also known as Shakambhari as she had created a river by her tears and saved the lives of people. Part 6 Kailash Samhita Classifications of Yoga. Describing the various types of yoga, Sutta told the sages that there were 3 types of yoga: Gyan Yoga, Kriya Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Each of them is capable of giving salvation to a man. When the mind or intellect unites with the soul, it is called Gyan Yoga. When the soul gets attached to external objects, it is called Kriya Yoga. The unification of one's whole being with Goddess Bhagavati is called Bhakti Yoga. All these 3 yogas combinedly are capable of giving salvation to a man. A man becomes a devotee by his actions or karmas. Devotion or bhakti helps a man to attain jnana or knowledge. Jnana or knowledge gives salvation. Yoga is the path through which a man can attain liberation, whereas Kriya Yoga is the chief means to attain it. Conducts of a sannyasi. A sannyasi should wake up early in the morning. After getting up, he should remember his preceptor or guru, and then he should pray to express his gratitude towards his guru. After that, he should practice pranayama and try to concentrate his mind on the 6 chakras present in his body. After the completion of pranayama and concentration on the 6 chakras, he should finish his daily routines. After applying ashes on his body, he should chant the sacred mantras and perform tarpana. Subsequently, he should perform akaman and then practice pranayama 3 times. After that, he should remember the sages or rishis. While going to do worship, he should maintain silence all along the way. He should do worship only after washing his feet and performing akaman. A sannyasi should paste the ground with cow dung and construct a quadrangular mandip. He should then keep a broad leaf of the palm tree at its center. He should then fence the area with colored threads from all 4 directions. After that, he should draw an 8-petaled flower in the center of the mandip, upon which he should draw a Shiva yantra. At last, he can commence his worship of the sun god. The greatness of Pranav mantra. Sage Vamdev was a great devotee of Lord Shiva from his birth. He never used to remain at a place for long. One day he had gone to a mountain peak named Kumar, which was situated towards the south of Sumera mountain. He met Kartikeya, who revealed to him that Pranav mantra directly signifies the Almighty God. Kartikeya also told him that with the help of that mantra, a person can attain Lord Shiva, who liberates from all the bondage of life. Though Vamadeva himself knew about the power of the Pranav mantra, yet he requested Kartikeya to shed some more light on it. Kartikeya told him that anyone could have the proximity of Lord Shiva, by the help of the means prescribed in the Shrutis and the Smritis. Regarding the methods of Shiva's worship, Kartikeya told Vamadeva that though Sadashiva was one, yet he was known by various names like Maheshvar, Rudra, Brahma, and Vishnu. Mahesh was created from the 1000th part of Sadashiva. The goddess of all illusions, Bhagavati, dwells in the left side of Sadashiva, therefore, he is the lord of all the actions of the universe. Sadashiva plays his desire acts by indulging in the creation, nurturement, and annihilation of this world. Uma warns the deities. Once, after having defeated the demons, the deities had become very arrogant and proud. They started indulging in self-praise. Suddenly, they were startled by the emergence of radiant light before them. All the deities became scared and went to Indra. Indra sent Vayu to test the power of that radiant light. As soon as Vayu reached there, he found that he had become powerless. One by one, all the deities came but returned after being defeated. At last, Indra himself went there. As soon as Indra reached there, he found that he had become bereft of all his powers. Suddenly, Goddess Uma manifested herself and warned Indra against becoming arrogant. Indra realized his mistake. The incarnation of Shakambhari. The most valiant demon Durgam had acquired all the 4 Vedas from Lord Brahma after pleasing him. Lord Brahma had also given a boon of invincibility to him. Durgam became very arrogant and started tormenting the whole world. As a consequence, it did not rain for 100 years, and the whole world was hit by drought. The deities went to Goddess Maheshwari, Parvati, and narrated their woeful tales. Goddess Maheshwari was so moved by their plights that tears rolled down from her eyes for 9 continuous days and nights. The tear took the form of a river, as a result of which the phase of drought came to an end. The deities then requested her to recover the Vedas, which were in the possession of Durgam. They then went back to their abode. When Durgam saw that people were living happily, he attacked with a large army. At that very moment, Goddess manifested herself and fought a tremendous battle with Durgam. From her body manifested the 10 Mahavidyas and many other goddesses. At last, Goddess Maheshwari killed Durgam with her trident and recovered the Vedas from his possession. She then handed over the Vedas to the deities. Maheshwari is also known as Shakambhari as she had created a river by her tears and saved the lives of people. Part 6 Kailash Samhita Classifications of Yoga. Describing the various types of yoga, Sutta told the sages that there were 3 types of yoga: Gyan Yoga, Kriya Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Each of them is capable of giving salvation to a man. When the mind or intellect unites with the soul, it is called Gyan Yoga. When the soul gets attached to external objects, it is called Kriya Yoga. The unification of one's whole being with Goddess Bhagavati is called Bhakti Yoga. All these 3 yogas combinedly are capable of giving salvation to a man. A man becomes a devotee by his actions or karmas. Devotion or bhakti helps a man to attain jnana or knowledge. Jnana or knowledge gives salvation. Yoga is the path through which a man can attain liberation, whereas Kriya Yoga is the chief means to attain it. Conducts of a sannyasi. A sannyasi should wake up early in the morning. After getting up, he should remember his preceptor or guru, and then he should pray to express his gratitude towards his guru. After that, he should practice pranayama and try to concentrate his mind on the 6 chakras present in his body. After the completion of pranayama and concentration on the 6 chakras, he should finish his daily routines. After applying ashes on his body, he should chant the sacred mantras and perform tarpana. Subsequently, he should perform akaman and then practice pranayama 3 times. After that, he should remember the sages or rishis. While going to do worship, he should maintain silence all along the way. He should do worship only after washing his feet and performing akaman. A sannyasi should paste the ground with cow dung and construct a quadrangular mandip. He should then keep a broad leaf of the palm tree at its center. He should then fence the area with colored threads from all 4 directions. After that, he should draw an 8-petaled flower in the center of the mandip, upon which he should draw a Shiva yantra. At last, he can commence his worship of the sun god. The greatness of Pranav mantra. Sage Vamdev was a great devotee of Lord Shiva from his birth. He never used to remain at a place for long. One day he had gone to a mountain peak named Kumar, which was situated towards the south of Sumera mountain. He met Kartikeya, who revealed to him that Pranav mantra directly signifies the Almighty God. Kartikeya also told him that with the help of that mantra, a person can attain Lord Shiva, who liberates from all the bondage of life. Though Vamadeva himself knew about the power of the Pranav mantra, yet he requested Kartikeya to shed some more light on it. Kartikeya told him that anyone could have the proximity of Lord Shiva, by the help of the means prescribed in the Shrutis and the Smrtis. Regarding the methods of Shiva's worship, Kartikeya told Vamadeva that though Sadashiva was one, yet he was known by various names like Maheshvar, Rudra, Brahma, and Vishnu. Mahesh was created from the 1000th part of Sadashiva. The goddess of all illusions, Bhagavati, dwells in the left side of Sadashiva, therefore, he is the lord of all the actions of the universe. Sadashiva plays his desire acts by indulging in the creation, nurturement, and annihilation of this world. Initiation and last rites of a sannyasi. Vamadeva requested Kartikeya to enlighten his mind with that knowledge, without which a sannyasi can never attain liberation. Kartikeya then told him about the methods of how a sannyasi should get initiation from his guru. A disciple should worship his guru in any of the following months: Shravan, Ashvin, Kartik, Agahan, and Math. He should then establish a kalash and worship it. He should again worship his guru considering him as the form of Shiva. The guru should then initiate him with the Shiva mantra. After getting the mantra, the disciple should chant it considering himself as Shiva, Shivaham. After this, the disciple should get his head tonsured. The barber who is supposed to shave off the hairs should be given pure clothes to wear. The barber should also wash his hands with mud and water. The instruments and apparatus, which he is supposed to use, should be made pure by the Astra mantras. First of all, the front portion of the head should be shaved off. After that, the back portion of the head should be shaved off. The disciple should then get his beards and mustache shaved off. After this, the disciple should massage his body with mud and take a bath by taking 12 dips in a pond. After taking his bath, he should worship his guru and meditate on Lord Shiva. Kartikeya told sage Vamdev that an ascetic does not die but takes a samadhi, therefore, instead of being cremated, he is buried. Therefore an ascetic must practice the art of samadhi to perfection. If he has not yet perfected the art of samadhi, then he should keep on practicing yoga until he attains mastery over the art of samadhi. He should try to concentrate his mind on the Omkar mantra, which is eternal. If his body has become weak and feeble and incapable of doing physical exercises like pranayama, then he should indulge himself in Shiva remembrance. This way an ascetic can attain to heaven. After his death, the rest of the ascetics should perform the rituals at his place of death for 10 days. An altar should be constructed on the 11th day. 5 quadrangular mandalas should be made facing towards the northern direction. In each of these mandalas, deities like Deveshwari, Adivahak, etc., should be established first and then worshipped. The worship should be done as per the instruction of Guru by offering prasada. This prasada should be given to a virgin girl or cow later on. The articles used in the process of worship should be immersed in the river or pond. In this way, the Parvan Shraddha ceremony of the deceased ascetic is accomplished. It is worth noting that Ekodishta Shraddha is not performed after an ascetic's death. After the completion of Parvan Shraddha, the ascetic should perform the Ekadasha Shraddha as per the instructions of their guru. On the 12th day, the ascetics should invite the Brahmins after getting up in the morning and taking their bath. These Brahmins should be fed. The ascetics should then take a vow to worship their guru by holding a kusha, grass in their hands. After that, they should wash the lotus feet of their guru and worship him. Even the worship of guru's teacher should be done. After the worship is over, the guru should get up by saying Shubhamastu, benediction to all. He should then sprinkle the purified rice by chanting mantras. At last, donations should be made to the invited Brahmins. Part 7 Vaivya Samhita. The origin of Vidya, knowledge. There are 14 types of learning or Vidyas, 4 Vedas, 6 Vedangas, Mimamsa, Nyaya, Puranas, and other religious scriptures. These 14 learning along with Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda, and Arthashastra becomes 18. All these 18 learnings originate from Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva created Lord Brahma to felicitate the process of creation and bestowed him with all these 18 learnings. He also empowered Lord Vishnu to protect the creation. The 4 Vedas emerged from the mouth of Lord Brahma, on the basis of which were created the numerous scriptures like Vedangas, etc. Since these Vedas were difficult to understand, therefore Lord Vishnu took incarnation as Vyasa and created the Puranas so that they could be understood easily. The Puranas contain 4 lakh shlokas, and they help us to understand the essence of the Vedas. The tale of Naimisharanya. Once, Lord Brahma released his Manomaya chakra and instructed the sages to follow it. He also told them that the place at which the Manomaya chakra broke down would be very auspicious for doing penance. The sages followed the Manomaya chakra, which after traveling for a long time fell down on a large segment of land, and its circumference, Nemi, broke down as predicted by Lord Brahma. This segment of land became famous as Naimisharanya. The sages decided to perform a yajna at that sacred place. This way, the very place sitting where Lord Brahma did creations. All the sages commenced their yajna, which continued for 10,000 years. On the completion of yajna, the deity arrived there and blessed them as per the instruction of Lord Brahma. Method of performing Havana. While performing a Shiva yajna, a devotee should make offerings to the Havanakunda made of iron or mud. Fire should be ignited in the Havankunda following the methods as prescribed in the scriptures. He can then commence the actual worship. The devotee should make offerings of ghee with sruva, a wooden spoon, and other articles with his hands. The offering should be first made in the names of Lord Brahma, Prajapati, then to the 9 planets and other deities. After that, offerings should be made in the name of the chief deity. The devotee should then make 9 offerings to each of the deities like Agni, Vayu, and Surya, etc. At last, he should perform the arti and atone for those mistakes, which he might have committed during the whole process of worship. He should also give donations to the Brahmins and feed them. Auspicious days for doing Shiva worship. The 8th day and the 14th day of both the fortnights of each Hindu month are considered to be the most auspicious for the worship of Lord Shiva. Similarly, the solstice day, Sankranti, when the sun is positioned north of the equator, and eclipse day are considered to be very auspicious. On these days, special worship of Lord Shiva should be done by bathing the Shiva idol with Panchagavya and having it as prasadam. It frees a man from the gravest of sins. Similarly, the day of Pushya Nakshatra falling in the month of Pausa is considered very auspicious, and performing arti of Shiva on this day gives immense virtues. Making donations of ghee and blankets on Magha Nakshatra falling in the month of Maph gives immense virtues. The following days are considered to be the most auspicious for the worship of Lord Shiva. Uttara Falguni Nakshatra on the same day as Purnima, in the month of Falgun. Chitra Nakshatra falling on the same day as Purnima in the month of Chatra. Vishakha Nakshatra falling on the same day as Purnima, in the month of Vaishak. Mula Nakshatra falling in the month of Jyeshtha. Uttarashada Nakshatra falling in the month of Ashada. Shravan Nakshatra falling in the month of Shravan. Uttara Bhadra Nakshatra falling in the month of Bhadra. Purnima in the month of Ashvin. Kartika Nakshatra falling on the same day as Purnima in the month of Kartik. Ardra Nakshatra falling in the month of Margashirsha. Desirable rituals, Kamaya Karma. Rituals can be categorized into 2 types. Rituals performed with the objective of fulfilling worldly desires. Rituals pertaining to ultramundane desires. In general, rituals can be classified into 5 categories: rituals, penance, chanting of mantras, meditation, and all the 4 collectively. For the performance of rituals, a man needs power and strength, and one cannot achieve power until Shiva wishes it. It is only with the blessings of Shiva that a man can attain both worldly pleasures and liberation. These rituals, Kamaya Karma, are performed by making a mandal facing towards the east and doing a Warren Pujan, as well as worship of Lord Shiva. Worship of Lord Shiva done in this way fulfills all the desires of a man. The methods for the worship of the 5 Awarans of Shiva have been mentioned in Shiva Mahastotra. Each of the Awarans has separate presiding deities, the worship of which should be done according to the methods as described in the Shiva Purana or as per the instruction of the Guru. Installation of Shivalinga. According to the scriptures, a Shivalinga should be made in an auspicious moment. The land where the Shivalinga is supposed to be installed should be purified by performing Bhumi Pujan. After Bhumi Pujan, worshipping Lord Ganesha should be done. After that, the Shivalinga should be purified by washing it with Panchgavya, and after worshipping it, it should be immersed in the water. The Shivalinga should be then taken out from the water, and after worshipping it, it should be laid down on the bed meant for him. It should be then installed at the desired place and should be consecrated by chanting the mantras. All the rituals should be performed as per the instructions of the Guru. Classification of Yoga. Yoga means such actions that, after pacifying all human tendencies, help a man to unite with Shiva. Following are the 5 divisions of yoga. Mantra Yoga. Sparsh Yoga, union of touch. Bhava Yoga, union by devotion. Abhava Yoga, union without being emotionally attached. Mahayoga, the great union. Mantra Yoga helps a man to understand the meaning of mantras and unite with Shiva by the concentration of the mind. When Mantra Yoga is perfected by the practice of pranayama, it is called Sparsh Yoga. Bhava Yoga means meditating and chanting without uttering a word. Abhava Yoga means such a union when the devotee contemplates on the final annihilation, without being emotionally attached to the world. A man whose mind is preoccupied with the thoughts of Shiva is supposed to have attained the state of Mahayoga. A yogi can unite with Shiva after purifying his body with the help of pranayama, etc.